Coach is excited about that, I bet.
Is it going to be like the whole student section interviewing them, like just one of those big press conferences? I'm looking forward to that now. I'm excited about that.
Mayfield student section ready for the season.
It's outstanding.
So, and as you heard, Mayfield leading Walsh Jesuit 10-0 at the half. So, a nice job by Jenna DePippo, our student reporter for Mayfield. Let's talk a little bit about. We touched on it a little bit. You know, Menor and Massillon. That's an ambitious first game. You're going to travel to Massillon. You're going to take on the Tigers. And it's a good test in week 1.
And that's what Menor likes to do. You know, I remember talking to Coach Trevisano. This was back when, you know, they went to that format where you had 16 teams that made it into the regional. And he kind of liked to schedule almost like a basketball team. Get a lot of tough games early. Now, you don't have that room for error anymore because you're back down to 8 in each region. But he's never afraid to schedule anybody. And you look, they got St. Ignatius next week. They got Glenville. Now, we don't know a lot about Glenville right now. Obviously, you guys have seen them scrimmage, but they're getting beat up a little bit tonight, so there's still question marks about them. They're obviously a very good team, though. You know, it's always a tough early schedule for this team. And then they get into a conference that's really challenging and throws teams at them like Shaker Heights, Medina, teams that can be very good and beat you on any given week. Solon, Euclid, it never gets easy for Menor this season.
Yeah, last year's champs, Solon Comets, were actually the conference winners last year. And so if they're going to measure up to anything, they've got to look at what Solon was doing last year and find a way to win these games. Well,
Menor down in Massillon, and the Cardinals' offense starting to roll a little bit as they move the ball down into scoring territory. And the aforementioned Tadas Tatarunas keeps it and gets into the end zone with a nice little touchdown run as Tatarunas puts the Menor Cardinals up 14-7 in the second quarter. So Menor's offense starting to click a little bit. 2 touchdowns on the ground. Take them any way you can get them. They still count as 7.
And there are a lot of unenviable places to be if you're a high school football team, and having to chase Menor being behind them is one of those things because they never let up. Now, so you're never out of the game, but when they get rolling, that offense can put up points, and you hate to fall behind by 2 or 3 scores.
So a nice job is, you know, they fell behind 7-0, did the Menor Cardinals, and now they're ahead 14-7. And again, they want to get off to a good start. You know, put the start they had a year ago well in the rearview mirror, and I'm sure they've already done that. But if you know, that doubt kind of, it's a terrible thing. It creeps in if you don't get the first win. So.
Yeah.
And Tadas, I mean, it's going to have to really start with him. And as we saw, he just scored that last touchdown there. But it's really going to rely on him and what's going to happen in that offensive line. But I think after that first touchdown, after those first initial moments of the game, I think that everyone's kind of settling in now for the Menor Cardinals, and they should be able to pull out a win. So we'll just see what happens, though. But
another game that we are keeping our eye on is Bedford and Nordonia. Our Bill Mavell joins us halftime at the stadium with Nordonia and Bedford. Bill, what's going on?
So we reached halftime here. Right now, it's pretty much all Bedford so far. It's 28-10 at the half, and it's really been the Kenneth Wilkins show. He's got 3 touchdowns, 125 yards rushing so far, and right now Nordonia has no answers for him.
Is it the offensive line, Bill, of Bedford that's kind of doing it, or is it strictly speed and moves for him?
You know, it's a little bit of both right now. He's seeing some big holes, but he's got really explosive speed. He's finding cutback lanes, and he's gone. You know, he's going 8, 10, 12 yards before somebody gets a hand on him in some cases. So it's a little bit of both. But right now, Nordonia hasn't made any sort of adjustments or anything that's worked to slow him down.
What about Bedford's defense? How have they been? What kind of jumps out about the Bearcats' defense?
So far, they've had good pressure on Robbie Levac back there. Nordonia hasn't really used Ty Evans too much out of the backfield. They've thrown him his way a few times. He's only had a couple carries. So they're playing a little bit of catch-up, so I think it kind of makes them a little more one-dimensional than they'd like to be at this point in the game. It's kind of hard to get a read because they're getting a chance to kind of really pin their ears back and go after the quarterback.
All right, Bill Mavell, we appreciate it as Bedford with a 28-10 lead on Nordonia in the first half, exactly the way that Sean Williams would want to start the first half of the first game.
They're fast. They have a bunch of skill position players. And when you have that formula, you can put up points in a hurry.
And I'm sure that they wish they had that same effort last year in the playoffs. I mean, they just looked missing in that game against Copley, and so an opportunity for them to get a win here against a region opponent and be able to, take a little step ahead of them is great because they've got some other teams behind them that are going to want that spot too.
Well, one of the games that we have talked about is Aurora and Solon. Our Matt Gould is there and files this report. Matt.
Common Friday Night Huddle, trying to battle the band, was going to try to wait them out before I gave you guys a quick halftime update. Of course, it's 7-6 at halftime here. Aurora is leading Solon. Back-to-back scores, Thomas Wilkes with a 15-yard catch from quarterback Joe Cardellone earlier in the first quarter, and Gavin Blunt answered with a 75-yard kick return, took it to the house. The extra point is the difference. Solon went for 2 and that run failed, and that's where we stand right now. The defenses have reigned supreme in this game. Aurora, despite being up, I mean, that was a special teams touchdown, and Aurora has, let me get my stat sheet ready for you, just 6 yards rushing, 31 yards of total offense tonight. So that Solon defense has brought it, and of course Aurora's has as well. Solon has 44 yards rushing, 143 yards passing. They've mixed it in with Joe Cardellone and JT Caver a little bit. Thomas Wilkes carried the bulk of the load early. He had 9 of their first 10 offensive plays on rushes, and he currently has 51 yards on 15 carries at the half. Of course, the one touchdown was on that little boot out, or I should say swing pass out into the flat. So that's where we stand right now, 7-6, and Aurora should get the ball to start, but can they get their offense going? They've really struggled. Evan Fromweiler, their new quarterback, has been accounting for most of their offense. He's run it a bunch of times, had 11 carries, but he's also been sacked a lot. So you've got a lot of positive and negative gains there for him. We'll see if they can get something going, because the way Solon's playing, they have been winning the field position battle. We'll see what happens in the second half. It is 7-6, Aurora at the break.
Interesting. The most shocking thing of that is Aurora's offense struggling to that level to get yardage.
Yeah, and Matt mentioned they're getting most of it out of their quarterback, Evan Fromweiler. How about Coach McQuaid? Never afraid to go for 2. It's got him behind now, but he's never afraid to go for 2. And it always seems like when these two teams play, you're not going to get a lot of points. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be an interesting finish there. Could come down to the kicking game, too, which is always an adventure in high school. And we always know Solon can usually find a good kicker, see if he gets tested.
And in talking about going for those 2 points, I mean, Aurora is one of those teams where you want to try to get as many points as you can, but unfortunately that gamble, it cost them right now. And so hopefully we're going to see what happens in the second half, if Solon can bounce back from that, or Aurora is going to be able to try to get a little bit more going on their offense. So we'll see.
How about the Solon defense? That's a unit that graduated a lot of people up front. Solon returned some guys in the back half, and then they had the unfortunate thing. One of their best linebackers, Casey Maniglia, decided he was going to concentrate strictly on baseball. And he's a heck of a baseball player. So, I mean, you can't fault a guy for that. But they lose a guy who he started as a sophomore, started as a junior, as a linebacker. He decided to concentrate on baseball. But that defense has really stepped up.
Yeah, and Taj Ward is a guy that they really count on there. He plays both ways, and they're just going to have to use some of that athleticism in the secondary, and that they always seem to have a linebacker. Maybe this game comes down to a turnover. Maybe it comes down to a special teams play. There's so many different ways that this thing could play out because it's so close and because it's so low scoring.
Well, you've already had the special teams touchdown that you like, Gavin Blunt.
Exactly.
That's what makes the fact that Aurora hasn't had more than 20, 30 yards of offense total. You've got Fromweiler, who's a pretty good athlete, who's your quarterback, and you got Gavin Blunt. So Solon has figured out we're going to take Gavin Blunt away from him, and so far they've done that.
And boy, to lose that linebacker from Solon, wow. That's really got to hurt them. And also, you're trying to win your, I think that's actually even 3rd straight conference title GCC. But to lose him really hurts. But I mean, right now, so far the game is pretty tight. But as we can see, all it's going to take is one play, and that could change everything.
So again, Aurora had 7-6 halftime. Should be an interesting second half of football over at Aurora. Menor, the Menor Cardinals offense, starting to roll down in Stark County. And they're ahead 14-7 and back inside the 5-yard line. And the Menor Cardinals, their 3rd rushing touchdown of the night, a short one. And Nick Segagarius gets into the end zone, and it is 21-7. Menor, 3 straight touchdowns, 21 straight points. They lead the Massillon Tigers. And you can be sure the Tiger fans are getting a little anxious down there. Now down 21-7 to the Menor Cardinals.
Coach Trevisano has got to be really excited about seeing that score right there, because at first it looked like they just couldn't do too much on offense, and now you're seeing Tatis score a touchdown. Now you got the running back getting into the game. So now, is the sky the limit for the Menor Cardinals right now. So Massillon's got definitely looking like they're backpedaling right now. So.
And for Menor, they had a scrimmage against Massillon Jackson, and they did it on the ground in that game. They got 3 rushing touchdowns. They played a quarter, got 3 rushing touchdowns in that. They want to run the football. Now, they're going to be traditional Menor. They're going to throw the ball around. They're going to use their weapons on the outside. But they want to run the ball a little bit this year, and we've seen it there. 3 touchdowns, all 3 of them on the ground.
One of the things that, that I respect so much about Coach Trevisano for Menor, there was a time when they had 2 really good tailbacks, and they ran the ball 70% of the time. So he fits it's still kind of a spread, but they will run the ball when they have the running backs to do it. It's whatever we have in our arsenal, I'll tailor my offense around, and he's usually pretty good at it.
And I think in everybody's minds, it's just natural. You hear the word spread, and you think, oh, they're throwing the ball, however many times a game. That's not necessarily the case. The spread is just about spreading guys out, creating one-on-one matchups. And if you can run the ball out of the shotgun, you can be really successful running the football out of the spread.
What the spread does running the football is it puts you in one-on-one situations, and you better be able to tackle in space. And that, that's a challenge for some of the better NFL teams as well. So, that's the whole idea behind the spread. And men are obviously running the football pretty effectively tonight.
And if you've got wide receivers that can block downfield too, that's going to help that running game a lot when you're running out of the spread.
Let's get back to as we're, at halftime for a lot of these games, what's the thing that jumps out as most surprising to you?
Oh, please pick me. Euclid and Glenville.
That was mine.
You just stole all of ours.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to extend the score that much, but my goodness, Glenville, they're a prideful program, but to see Euclid come down there and just take it to them, that speaks a lot of volumes. But Chef Rodsky is doing a heck of a job over at Euclid, and right now it's showing on the field. Yeah,
and Nate, you and I saw them. I thought they were a typical Glenville team. They've got some speed. They've got some guys that are shifty. They've got a couple of running backs that looked like they were going to be trouble. Now, I think they were struggling to find consistency with their quarterback, and that's probably the thing that you're looking at. But the most concerning thing, I'm sure, for Coach Ginn, 32 points and that early in the game. That's not the type of defense he's used to seeing.
Is Bedford beating Nordonia the way they're beating them a little surprising? A
little bit.
Nordonia, I think, had high hopes to kind of bounce back this season, and I think Bedford is the better team, but maybe the fact that Nordonia isn't showing up a little bit better in this first week, that's a little bit of a surprise.
Well, here's something that really isn't a huge surprise. Is second half action underway for the Solon Comets and the Aurora Greenmen, and Solon had the football first, and there's that quarterback, Joe Cardellone, and that would be Thomas Wilkes. Thomas Wilkes, gets down low and gets into the end zone. So Solon gets into the end zone and takes the lead. 12-7 is the score over Aurora, 12-7.
I might be giving him credit. Did he take like 3 defenders with him? No, 2. Okay, just checking. But
he did really. He got low, and he's fast.
Yeah. Well, no, Thomas Wilkes, he's a fascinating athlete, but he's going to be a real key piece for the Comets this season if they want to repeat their conference title and do well in that very, very difficult region that we've been talking about, since the start of the show. But yeah, I'll maybe give him 3 defenders, maybe. So.
Good job to get on the scoreboard early, though. That erases that. And it looks like they're playing they're trying to chase the extra point again, so they may have missed that 2-point conversion as well.
When you got a 1,000-yard rusher in that backfield, you should lean on that guy, especially earlier in the year when you're trying to break in some. Either find a quarterback or break in a quarterback. Yeah. Lean on that 1,000-yard rusher. Lean on the guy you know.
And especially when it gets cold too. You know, you don't need a running game. So.
So Solon answers, and they are now ahead of Aurora 12-7. You can be sure the Greenmen will answer back and do it as well.
Maybe they'll take that kickoff back for a touchdown. We've seen that a million times out of Aurora.
Yeah, you know, the Bedford Nordonia, kind of interesting. You look at the roster, and Nordonia doesn't have the numbers that they normally do. They're in the mid-50s as far as, you know, what they're doing numbers wise, and eventually that comes back to be a challenge,
especially with the way they want to play. You know, they like to run that spread offense. They like to run a lot of plays and play fast, and you got to have bodies to do that. And it's a little surprising to see those numbers are down because that team was so good for so long. You know, 4 straight playoff appearances ended last year with a 3-7 record, so a little surprising to maybe see those numbers down a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what Coach Fox can do with this roster.
Yeah, and you know, again, not insurmountable, but you better figure a way to stop the run because you're going to see a big dose of the Bearcats running the football in that second half.
And it takes away a guy like Ty Evans. You know, when you go into a game and you're just starting out, or you've got the lead, or it's close, you can lean on one guy, get him the ball. And now you've got to, you know, clearly Bedford, I'm sure, is focusing on trying to shut him down, and now it kind of takes that away for you as you fall behind.
And again, Nordonia also trying to break in another quarterback in Robbie Levac, and if you can't run the football effectively, you're putting a lot on a guy who's trying to play at the varsity level for the first time and trying to get the game to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, make no mistake. I mean, Bedford has the ability to be able to put up as many points as they want to, but you know, Bedford is going to make it hard on them. You know, they're going to spread the ball around. They're going to move guys around, and they're quick. They're very fast. And surprisingly, I was very surprised how that playoff game ended last year for them. They had the ability to move on to the next round, but just, I don't know, they just couldn't put together. It's like a lot of inconsistencies, and it looks like they put it together so far.
Well, we've looked in at the Mentor and Massillon game. Ryan Isley has a halftime report from the Cardinals and the Tigers.
From Paul Brown Tiger Stadium here in Massillon, where the Mentor Cardinals have taken a 21-7 lead into the locker room at halftime over the Tigers. Massillon scored first in the first quarter on a short touchdown run, but was then answered by Mentor with 3 touchdown runs in the second quarter. The Mentor offense took a little while to get going. Both teams were a little bit sloppy in the first quarter, as one official told me he had this game last year and threw more flags in the first quarter of this game than he did in 4 quarters last year. It looked like Massillon's offense was going to get going early. They were able to move the ball, and then Mentor's defense stepped it up about the middle of the first quarter, took that momentum into the second quarter, and then when Mentor's offense finally caught up, it was floodgates opening. One drive was 80 yards, 7 plays, took just a minute and 8 seconds for the Cardinal offense. Again, down here at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon at the half, it's Mentor 21, Massillon 7.
And Ryan alluded to something that you mentioned. When that offense goes, it goes quick.
Yeah.
And they'll do that even if they're running the football. It's snap the ball as quickly as you can so the defense can't make substitutions. That's the mindset.
And even up 2 scores, you know, they're going to keep playing that way until that clock is 0 in the fourth quarter, which is good news for Massillon because it means they're going to get more possessions and they're going to get more plays, but they're going to have to get stops too. And that's really difficult. And clearly, if they're giving up an 80-yard drive in just over a minute, they're having some trouble doing that.
It's a double-edged sword. You're going to get more possessions, but you better figure a way to slow down that offense.
Yeah, especially when you're playing against a senior quarterback who's starting for the 3rd year. It's a little more difficult to take advantage of him and maybe get a turnover or something like that you need.
And he brings a lot to the table. Tatis Teterunas, the quarterback. You know, that's when we were talking about how they used to have a couple running backs that used to be able to do that. But because of that spread offense that they run, he's able to do a lot of things that he's very comfortable with doing. And so Mentor so far, they're up, and we're going to see if they keep it up.
And, you know, 21-7 at half over the Massillon Tigers. Good start by the Mentor Cardinals this year. Another game that we touched on very briefly, Normandy and Wellington, as Normandy trying to snap that long losing streak and had a lead early in the game as well. And
Nate, that's a game I know you're paying a lot of attention to
Yeah,
that game.
I was scrolling through the tabs here. Yeah, so they were up 14 to 7 at the start of earlier in the game. But this team is trying to erase a 41-game losing streak. You know, like I said, we chatted with the 2012 team. We chatted with some of the current players. But they want to really win this game, and this is a good opportunity. I mean, Wellington, Division IV team, they have an opportunity to say, you know, hey man, you know, they're a lower division. Maybe we can try to get this game against them. But they have a lot of riding on this game, and you know they want to try to win this game and just get this out of the way. So,
yeah, you know, anybody who's been through any type of season that you struggle in any sport, it's tough. You know, a lot of work goes into it to not see the payoff on the other end of that. So, we will again keep an eye on that. Normandy was leading 14-7 early in that game. Another game that we've talked about a little bit, Avon Lake and Elyria. Any surprises there? From your standpoint?
You know, Avon Lake is kind of it's a team that's a little tough to get a read on. A new coach. You know, they're coming off such a great year last year where they upset Avon in the first round. That was an 8-1 upset. But still just a tough team to kind of get a read on coming into this season. They've been a little inconsistent over the years. For Elyria, you know, backup quarterback in the game, using big plays. For Avon Lake, maybe they can pull in a little bit of that experience. They don't have a ton of returning starters, though, so that's kind of a team in transition. And
we're starting to get third quarter action in a lot of the 7 o'clock kickoff games. And one of the games we've checked in on a couple of times, North Royalton, a 9-0 lead on North Ridgeville. North Ridgeville moving the football. They get it down into North Royalton territory. 4th down, and the Rangers down 9, go for it, and Shamari Williams, he gets into the end zone. Shamari Williams cuts the lead to 9-7, so North Ridgeville answers, makes it just a 2-point game, and the difference in that game now, that safety that we heard happened right before halftime, less than 30 seconds left. So 9-7 now the score.
Shamari Williams can play a little bit. 1,500 yards, 19 scores last year. He's in the end zone now for the first time this year, so that's a weapon.
Yeah, 2 points only separates these two teams right now. It's gonna be a very tight game to see who's going to finish this game. So,
and you know, you talk about running backs at North Ridgeville, and Demario McCall immediately pops into your mind. He was pretty good. And
you know, North Ridgeville is not afraid to run the football. They've got a pretty good linebacker named Jameer Malone, also plays fullback, and you see there they don't mind stacking it up on 4th down and just trying to power the football in.
Absolutely. And with North Ridgeville, I mean they've got to find a way to win this game because they've got a tough Southwestern Conference they've got to deal with, including the champion from last year, Avon.
Luke Durbin, the head coach for North Ridgeville, and has to be happy. You respond early in the third quarter. You make that 9-0 deficit now 9-7. So we'll see. We will keep an eye on North Ridgeville, see if they can come back against North Royalton. When you look at this week 1, it's so important. You know, it's not make or break by any means, but a lot of times teams that struggle early just can't get out of that hole. And so this is huge that you get things going in week 1.
You only get 10 games, right? Like, obviously, if you make the playoffs, you get more. But you only get 10 games to make your case to get into the playoffs. And every week there's computer points on the line. And this first week, you prepare in the weight room. You prepare all summer. You got 2-a-days. You know, this is the game you are preparing for the longest. And if you start 0-1, you just have to sit on that for a week. Like, you've been preparing for this moment all off season, through 2-a-days, through the heat of summer. And now you're 0-1. That's a tough spot to be mentally.
I can only imagine getting up every day for 2-a-days for the entire week and coming out and down 10, 20 points. I mean, we've already talked about a couple teams that are in that situation right now. But man, it's really got to be irking feeling right now. And you know, the games are almost over, but you know we're getting close to the end there. But man, it's got to be terrible feeling. So.
Well, we have reporters throughout the region and really throughout the state. We're going to check in with Zach Harley. He has this report from Strongsville at Berea-Midpark. Zach.
out here in Berea getting ready for the second half of Midpark Berea and Strongsville. Strongsville leads Midpark Berea 35-14, thanks in huge part to Johnny Major. 5 touchdowns through the air and on the ground. Now look out for his wide receiver, his favorite wide receiver of the first half, Joe Gillette. He put up over 70 yards in the first half. We want to see if he can keep that up in the second half. Now looking at Berea-Midpark, they just need to keep the turnovers down, about 2 or 3 turnovers in the first quarter alone, not mentioning the second quarter. If Berea-Midpark wants to come back and give Strongsville a battle, they're going to have to protect the ball and just simply start moving that ball down the field. Only 2 scores right now. They're going to need a lot more to catch up to Strongsville.
So, Dan, I guess if you had Johnny Major in your high school football, fantasy football, you'd be pretty happy now. 5 touchdowns in the first half.
Do we dare start calling him Johnny Football? Are we allowed to do that? Not
Don't
yet?
do that.
No? Okay, all right.
Don't do that,
all right.
the poor young man.
Just making sure.
Not, at least not in Cleveland.
All right. You know, Johnny Major, a junior. Joe Gillette, a junior. You love to see those guys starting their junior years playing so well. A little chemistry. You got it for 2 more years. Whew, if you're Lucerino, you love seeing that early on.
Yeah, we think we have something we can work with here offensively.
Exactly.
But, you know, we talked about starting strong in week 1. Johnny Major's got the memo. 5 touchdowns in the first half.
Coming off a 2-8 season too.
And I'm surprised you haven't chuckled yet. I mean, Major and Gillette. I mean, these are some great.
This is like the all-name team right here.
Oh my gosh! No, I mean, for one, I mean, they've got some great names to go with some great stories right now for tonight. But we were talking about it earlier. The GCC, man, they're going to want to get this tape and figure out what were the Mustangs doing to maybe even potentially pull this week or so.
Well, you guys wrote about this in your preview, and I copied it down here. Lucerino has been exchanging messages with some of his players on Snapchat. So look at Lucerino, relating to the kids, getting on Snapchat, exchanging messages, maybe keeping an eye on them a little bit. But it seems to be working.
Yeah, we're probably going to see some coaches getting on Snapchat too. Like I say, does this actually work? So we'll see.
We're one of the games we've talked about a little bit. Lake Catholic taking on the Stowe Bulldogs. Lake Catholic had the early lead, and the Bulldogs rallying. And you
Rice
see
is going to go right.
It's
Rice going to cut
Karan Rice, the quarterback, and follows his block and just kind of glides into the end zone. The student section right behind the end zone. I love the Stowe student section there, right behind the end zone. 21-10 after the Rice touchdown run. Stowe now leading. So a nice job by the Bulldogs responding to some adversity early as they were down 10-0. And the quarterback, Rice, keeps it and gets into the end zone to make it 21-10.
Yeah, we were talking about him a little bit off the air. Very good basketball player for Dave Close's team. Sometimes starts, sometimes comes off the bench. Him and Coach Close have, I don't want to say a contentious relationship, but you can tell Coach Close has been trying to mold him. He's a guy that has some basketball offers, so a lot of athleticism at that quarterback position this year.
And he's a different type of quarterback than they had in Kyle Van Treese, but pretty effective. I mean, he could throw the ball a little bit, and you're going to have to account for him. You saw he just has the instinct where he's like, okay, come on, guys, block, block, block. I'm quick enough. I'll get the corner.
Yeah, really patient. You don't always see that a lot of times out of really athletic, fast quarterbacks. Sometimes they just want to get the ball and go, so you love to see that patience.
Mark Norrie was looking for an answer for Kyle when he graduated, and it looks like he's finding a little something in week 1. But I got a chance to be at a scrimmage, and I was even asking Coach. I said, Coach, what's kind of your answer right now with quarterbacks? And I think he found that. So.
And let's go back. Lake Catholic is now trying to answer Stowe as the Cougars have the ball.
Gibbons going right.
And
is he open
throwing
or what?
deep.
Pass
And a nice job as
he's got some room to go.
DiMario, a good job to throw the football downfield, and a nice grab by Nick Simchak, one of the co-captains, as Cougars going deep in their bag of tricks. A little halfback throw.
Yeah, you like to see that. Stowe's got a very aggressive defense. Here we go, some more.
And there's a little counter run down near the 1-yard line. Sean Fitzgerald is Fitzgerald just a junior. running strong inside.
Strong. Look at those guys. Look at those lines. Wow. How's Noah not saying anything?
Boys up there.
That's a great throw.
Yeah, you
Always worry if
see
the guy's
that.
gonna
So
float
they mark him down at the
Gun it.
3. So it's
Never seems to work like it did in practice. But that was right on the money.
21-10. Third
First
quarter.
and goal.
First
Gibbons
and
has
goal
one
from the
touchdown run tonight
3-yard
already.
line.
He's your quarterback. Oh,
Oh,
yellow
good
movement.
movement.
Right
That's
guard,
what
I
you get for
think.
pointing out the offensive line.
That'll back him up.
Oh,
So they'll back him up 5 yards, and we will do it again. So
That's frustrating as a coach because you just had that big play in the passing game, a really nice run. You're at the 1-yard line. The way you're going, you're probably going to score, and then you get a flag. Now you're back at the 6. Now it's just that much harder to get in the end zone. You give Stowe that much more hope that maybe they can hold you to a field goal or even force a turnover.
and even earlier, you know, we were talking about this experienced line coming for Lake Catholic, and I was like, why are they jumping? You know, so I think, but you know, man, just looking at the size of them on film, wow, I mean, they could go pretty far, and they can try to limit those mistakes like they just did now. They should go pretty deep. So.
kind of interesting is, again, sign of a good team is you answer. So they're trying to answer the touchdown and get back to where you were. And we're back. We didn't miss
Play
anything.
here. Second
They
and goal from the 6.
back to the 6-yard line. So it's second and goal. Gibbons is the quarterback.
Motion across the formation.
Little zone read. Nice cutback and a touchdown run. Planted and went upfield. Jack Gibbons into the end zone to cut the lead to 5. Point after coming.
Second of the night.
You wonder if they go for 2 here, maybe.
That's why I said
it's
5.
obviously- It's obviously early, but you know, maybe get this
Yeah.
game to 3 instead of 4. That's a big difference.
Yeah, man, that's a heck of a job by the big
Oh, yeah.
quarterback. I mean, he showed a little bit of moves, planted, got upfield, gets into the end zone. So nice job by Lake Catholic to answer Stowe and, cut that lead.
Yeah, and you saw 2 examples of guys working in space. The receiver after the catch, nice cutback to get extra yardage, and of course you mentioned the cutback by the quarterback on the little option play.
And you just mentioned the very reason why they got down the field, and that was Gibbons. You know, Gibbons with his pass ability play, and then also just his ability to be able to read the defense. When they got down there in the goal line, so heck of a job there.
Yep, and they get a little tricky with the halfback pass. So good stuff for Lake Catholic. They cut that lead and lining up to be a pretty good finish between the Lake Catholic Cougars and the Stowe Bulldogs. The Stowe trying to continue that playoff streak. They've gotten some taste of going deep in the playoffs, and they've decided they kind of like that, being Mark Norrie's Bulldogs.
I think it's a good early test for a team like Stowe because their schedule isn't always real tough until they get into conference play. A good early test is good for a young team that's trying to figure itself out a little bit.
And now they do have Solon kind of.
Oh, they do have tough
waiting.
teams on their schedule, but there's also some games in there that are they should be able to go win early.
So Cardinal Mooney leading 14-6, but the Tigers moving and twisting and turning his way into the end zone for the touchdown. As getting into the end zone for Cleveland Heights is Zaire Webb. And a nice job by Webb to give the Tigers the lead in the 4th quarter.
Great story about Zaire Webb. Won the relay event in the state championships last year. Joined the team just last year, transferring from Gilmore. He's very quick, and as you can see, he could put his nose down and try to get a touchdown for the Tigers as well. So
the score is 14-12 now. Mooney leads Cleveland Heights in the 4th quarter. So the Tigers will be going for 2, and as soon as they get back to the line of scrimmage, we will check in. And so this is for the tie in the 4th quarter after the Zaire Webb touchdown run.
So many different options in situations like this too.
Yeah, and you see Tariq Smith is lining up as a fullback. That would be number 4. And they give it to Webb again, and he's not going anywhere. Count the white jerseys. So
he gave up that block. Oh.
So Mooney, they keep the Tigers out of the end zone. So it is 14-12 4th quarter, but now one score and the Tigers can get it done.
Cleveland Heights and Solon, we're going to watch out those 2 teams because they both took some risk tonight. in their games. And so we're going to see if maybe they can try to get a couple more points on the board before the end of the game here.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, especially at the high school level, they end up going for 2 because the kicking game just isn't there. We'll see. You know, as the year goes along, you kind of get a feel for that. So.
Yeah, you kind of do the math and figure out, you know, is missing a 2-point conversion, is that any worse than trying to send our kicker out to try and kick an extra point if you don't trust the guy to hit him? So try and get those 2 points and see if it adds up.
And with Cleveland Heights, I mean, this may be a good opportunity to find out from their defense, you know, can they create turnovers and maybe even put some points on the board when the offense is not on the field. So we're going to see what happens with that as well.
Time for us to take a quick time out here on the Friday Night Huddle. It's getting into fourth quarter and some games will be finishing. Stay with us. We will return here on cleveland.com and Spectrum Sports.
Tuesday nights, it's game time. Join Greg Miller, Steve Hellwagon, and Josh Harris as they break down the week's best in Ohio college football. Your teams, your schools.
Look at that acrobatic move.
What you live for lives here. Game Time Ohio, Tuesdays at 8. Only on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
101 reasons to watch Friday Night Huddle this fall. We move on to defensive backs. Mark Porter from scoutingohio.com, Matt Gould from cleveland.com. Mark, let's talk about a junior on this list, Cade Stover from Lexington.
Yeah, he lines up at safety, but he's 6'5", 200 and some pounds. He's not going to be a safety for very long. He's going to be in a linebacker or a tight end. He is dominating also. They send him down the field. He pulls the ball out of the air. This kid was only a sophomore, and I'm reporting all this. Wait till you see what this kid does at Lexington as a junior and senior. Ohio State offers, big-time offers. One of the best players in the class of 2019, might be one of the top 5 players in the state.
Matt, over at St. Ed's, a name that we're familiar with, Dowell. This is Michael Dowell, the youngest of 3, and all of them are D1 players.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Michael Dowell is he's going to Michigan State as a cornerback. He hasn't played that much cornerback. He was actually a running back and a wide receiver when Michigan State started looking at him. Of course, they know his older brothers. They had already committed there. Played a little bit of safety last year. He told me he expects to play receiver and corner this year. And, of course, for corner, that's where he's going to be at.
As we look at some of the other names on this list, Moses Douglas, also a junior. He's the son of the coach now at Springfield, Maurice Douglas, of NFL Chicago Bears fame.
I was going to say he has a great lineage, bloodline. Injured a little bit last year, but as I saw him this summer at Combines, boy, is he grown up. He was a safety last year. He's grown up into that hybrid safety linebacker role. You might see him end up a linebacker in college, but a lot of these colleges are running these cover linebackers, cover safeties, and he fits that mold, and boy, can he run and hit.
Wednesday nights, get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview. Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum. Lives here. We are Spectrum Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle along with Dan Labbe, Nate Cline. I'm Dave Bacon. Guys, we're getting towards that third quarter, fourth quarter, some games finishing. One of the big surprises of the evening was the early score from the Glenville Tarblooders and the Euclid Panthers, with Euclid out to a big lead. Let's check back in with Bryant Kaiser. He's at that game. Bryant, what's happening since the last time we talked to you?
Remember this name, Trayvon Fullerton from Glenville. He has brought the Glenville Tarblooders back. It's 32-21 Euclid, 7:43 to go in the third quarter. Fullerton had a 56-yard touchdown run in the second quarter. He had a 68 touchdown run in the third. And Glenville has the ball. They have figured out this read-off option, and they have locked Euclid up right now.
Now, Fullerton's not the biggest guy. He's a guy, he's got some moves and he's quick.
Oh, he's slipping through these big tackles that they do, big tackles. And right now, and they need a lot of pickle juice because everybody's cramping up right now.
That's an old wives' tale, Brian. That doesn't work. Hey, what about the defense? Has Glenville's defense really stood up and started to play well?
Yeah, they kind of figure out this read option, and they stopping everything Euclid has done so far. But Glenville has their problems too. They turned the ball over 4 times. They have 11 penalties, so that's why they only had 21 points. But I believe Glenville might come back and get this one.
How much time left in that third quarter now?
7:48. A lot of football left here.
Sounds good. So Glenville's run off some points and now back in that ball game. Bryant Kaiser, we appreciate it. We will.
You could score 32 points in the first quarter, and they still got 32.
So they've run off 21 straight. We'll check back in with you and see how Glenville, if they can come back and complete this big-time comeback. But Fullerton, the guy he's talking about, 5'6", about 150 pounds. Nate, we saw him at that scrimmage, and I immediately went over to Coach Ginn. I'm like, who's number 4? He doesn't give you much to hit, and he's fast.
He has the opportunity to do very well for the Tarblooders last year. If you recall, Damaris Goodwin about a couple years ago, the team did really well behind him, and he was just being able to slide through those linemen, those really big linemen that we saw even at the scrimmage. But he has an opportunity to do really well for them. But make no mistake, Damon Williams and Jamel Ham, they're going to be at the key on their defense if they're going to try to stop this Euclid team. And it looks like they've kind of slowed them down so far, but just keep an eye for those guys as well.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Fullerton. That was at a scrimmage you're able to kind of shoot from behind and see plays develop. And he was a guy that would he'd put a leg in and a hip in, and somebody'd go to tackle him, and he's gone. Yeah. Just very shifty. You don't have much to hit, and he can move. Yeah. So he's one of those guys when you're on the field, you're like, whoa, he's fast.
Yeah. And they must have saw something at halftime because they had made some adjustments, and now he's getting out there on the field now. So.
Yeah, and then listening to Bryant, it feels like the defense, guys you mentioned, maybe a little more disciplined. Saw that read option, got a feel for it. Coach picked up on something, who knows? Sounds like they figured that out, at least according to what Bryant was telling us.
And, that's, keep in mind, that is not an easy thing to do. The read option, they're looking for a specific thing from the defense, and if you give it that look, they're just going to keep, that's one of those things. You can tell a player, don't do that. You've got to reinforce it and reinforce it and reinforce it. And if somebody's running the read option, well, it's going to be a long night.
And and it's funny, going back to another game that we talked about earlier, that was the same situation at the Lake Catholic, where they were right down on the goal line, and they kind of deceived the defense there, and they were able to score. So defense have to be very disciplined, definitely in high school level.
And sometimes if you're a little amped up to start a game, maybe you just aren't ready for that, because you do have to stay with your assignments, and you do have to stay where you're supposed to be. And maybe you're a little excited that first game, you try and make a big play, and the next thing you know, you're down 32-6. But here comes Glenville.
Well, we talked about Cleveland Heights getting back into that, being down by just 2 against Cardinal Mooney. Cardinal Mooney's offense got the football and started moving the football. There's that tightly bunched running formation, and Dan Simcoe kind of running off tackle, picks up a good chunk and gets inside the 20 down to the 16-yard line. So the reason you move that guy up to the line of scrimmages is you get through the hole quicker. It gives you the ability to get into the second level, and you see how big this is the exact size of their backfield again last year. So power I again. And this time they give it to Andre McCoy, and they're not doing anything other than lining up and outnumbering you on a certain side of the field, and their big backs are going to run the football. This is what Cardinal Mooney does, and this is why Cardinal Mooney is perennially a playoff team. They're just very physical, and they execute what they're doing.
And they line that second guy up so close to the line of scrimmage. So you got the fullback coming through quickly, but then the second guy gets through. Now it's not quite as close this time, but the second guy gets through so quickly too. He's into the second level.
He's
right
into
here.
the end zone. Touchdown, Dan Simcoe. So Dan Simcoe, the guy that carried the ball twice, one of those big backs, and they make it a 21-12 lead. So we've continually say it. Good teams have the ability to answer when they are pushed, and Cleveland Heights pushed, couldn't get the 2-point conversion to tie it. Cardinal Mooney pushed right back and answered with a nice touchdown drive.
And they have the ability to line up and do what they do best against you. Even if if you're trailing, if you're ahead by a couple of points, they'll just line it up and do what they do, and they aren't afraid. They aren't going to adjust. They're just going to do what they do, and we see that from Mooney every year and year out. They're just going to line up and run the ball right at you and see what you can do.
And they're going to do it with bigger running backs than you're used to. I mean, those are guys, some teams, those are defensive linemen. I mean, that's, they're going 230, 240, sometimes 250. Last year, 260-pound, fullbacks. That's a lot to ask of your defense. And these guys can run. Yeah. So a nice drive by Cardinal Mooney. That's what good teams do. That's what playoff teams do. They're able to run the ball effectively against a pretty good Division I team.
And boy, if you got a chance to look at that clip, when you figure you've seen enough football, wait till you look at high school football. They're going to throw all types of things at you. And I think I saw literally the quarterback and 3 more guys standing right behind him. I can only imagine if I'm on the Cleveland Heights defense, I'm wondering who's catching this ball. And sure enough, they were just deceived, ran in for the touchdown, and closing the score there.
Well, we talked about Euclid getting out to the big lead, and then Glenville scoring 21 points. Well, Massillon scored 7, and then Mentor went on a nice run, scored 21 straight to take a 21-7 lead. And the Mentor Cardinals running game just continues. Edmonds again, look at that. The defense parts, and Chris Edmonds says, thank you, 56 yards for the touchdown. Mentor having a nice opening night down in Massillon as the Cardinals open up the lead 28-7 in the third quarter. Chris Edmonds, a long touchdown run to go with his short touchdown run. And Steve Trevisano has to be smiling.
It was first week jitters, right? It was first week jitters. The Mentor Cardinals had it in them to do this, right? So, definitely just as we talked about earlier, Mentor had a very tough season last year, and this week 1 game needs to go off with a bang. So.
Through the third quarter, however far they are in the third quarter, you could put a check mark by that one for the Mentor Cardinals. Yeah. It's 28-7 they lead in the third quarter. You know what? How about the Glenville Tarblooders? That's a team, you fall behind that much in the first quarter, you're going to find out what you're made of. And to reel off that many points against a very good Division I team, it's a good sign.
Yeah, and you don't maybe love to talk about moral victories, but when you fall behind 32-6, it tells you something about your football team when you come back and you get yourself back in that football game. It tells the coaching staff that these kids aren't going to hang their heads. They're going to fight back. So win or lose that game, they know they've got something. And obviously moral victories don't get you into the playoffs, but it tells you something about your team when they fall behind, they get punched like that, and they punch right back.
Now, the challenging part is next on their schedule, being Glenville, is St. Ed's.
Yeah.
Then they also have Menor on their schedule. So the good news is in Division III, if they can run the table in the Senate, they're going to be in the mix. I'm not going to say they're guaranteed a Division III spot, but they'll have a shot.
And Division III is kind of sneaky tough, right? Sometimes you think about, oh, they went down to Division III, that'll help them, right? That is a sneaky tough division when you get into the postseason. There's some really good teams you're going to have to beat if you want to get to the state championship game.
Well, one of the games that we've talked about, a very good team who ended a long playoff drought a year ago, wants a return trip. The Barberton Magic playing Norton, little backyard rivalry going on, and Barberton has the lead. And Zane Rees wants to throw all kinds of time, throws down the sidelines, and it's into the end zone, diving for the touchdown. And a nice job by Jeff Parker, the running back, coming out of the backfield, and a little bit of a wheel route, and Zane Rees put it right on the money, 26-0. So we saw Norton with the ball 10-yard line, and the defense held, and now Barberton starting to roll some points on the board as they lead 26-0 in the fourth quarter.
One of those cases of throwing to a spot, not throwing to a man, throwing to a spot. You're kind of watching who's that to, and then all of a sudden somebody comes out of nowhere and makes the catch on that wheel route.
Yeah,
and it's a score.
What you do is you set that up by running the ball effectively, and you fake the defense going one way, and everybody's looking, and that back that you think is going to stay in there and block sneaks out. And heck of a play by Zane Rees. That was thrown very well. Parker ran under it. Nice job. 26-0. So the Magic have not lost that magic from a year ago. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, and Parker's just showing that, hey, we can do this with and Keith Thompson is a very vital piece, but he's showing that, look, hey, we've got a great playbook, we've got some other great cast members, and, we're going to throw everything we got at you and see if we can win each week. So, heck of a job. And
they did. They made a point of, saying that, Keith Thompson's a good player, but we got some other guys we think can make plays. And so far, they have. Parker's had a nice night, without question.
Yeah, it was a good start for Barberton. Absolutely. We talked about it early on. You don't want to come out and start slow if you have high expectations, and here they are. They're rolling now after they kind of struggled early, but now they're rolling.
And they got pushed a little bit, which is good. They got pushed by, Norton. Oh man, they're in field goal range. They could put 7 on the board. Their defense responds, and now the offense kind of gets it rolling. How about Cardinal Mooney too? I mean, you saw Tigers cut it to 2, had a chance to tie it on the 2-point conversion. And Mooney's idea of mixing it up is, do we run left out of the power I or right out of the power I? There's nothing fancy about it. They just get out and block and are physical.
Yeah, I mean, do they even need to have like a training camp in the summer? It's just, hey guys, show up week 1, in shape, you know the playbook, you know what we're going to do. Just be really big, be ready to run the football.
Their training camp consists of a lot of weight room. Get in the weight room and grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Mooney, they look really good right now, and Cleveland Heights needs to find an answer for that.
Yeah.
And especially for that size. I don't know if they can do too much other than just try to get as many guys in front of them as possible, but,
the one thing is Cleveland Heights has the guys that can score quickly, but, they're going to need to convert. One of those 2-point conversions is going to be and when you miss the 2-point conversion and then the other team scores a touchdown, now you don't get that opportunity back.
Yeah, you're down 2 scores now
right.
instead of just 1 score, and we know that Mooney can shorten a game too. That's the other benefit of their ability to run the football is they can make that last quarter go like that if they can hold on to the football.
Well, we've talked about Mentor responding as they were down 7-0, now leading 28-7. Massillon, you don't think the Tigers are going to go away, do you? And a long touchdown pass, nicely thrown, Longwell to Kutcher, and Kutcher turns it into 6 for the Massillon Tigers. A heck of a job to find the open seam, ball delivered on time and on target. 28-14 third quarter. Tigers showed they can score in a hurry. You know, we talk about Mentor's quick strike offense. That's a pretty quick strike there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a really great job in the pocket. You don't see that a lot in high school. Just a quarterback dropping back, moving in the pocket, climbing in the pocket a little bit. Had that clock in his head, knew when to get rid of the football. You know, you love to see that out of a high school quarterback.
And you know, let the guy clear.
Yep.
It looked like it was a zone coverage from where we had cleared into the zone, and I mean, put it right on the money. If he doesn't put it on the money, that goes as a 25, 30-yard gain instead of the long touchdown.
Yeah, or, you know, without that pocket presence, maybe he's taking off and running. So, yeah, it's a 5 or 7 yard gain. Instead, he stands in there, delivers the football. It's a touchdown.
Much needed touchdown for the Massillon Tigers as they cut the lead to 28-14 for the Mentor Cardinals. That's one that's tough for. That's a tough game for the Massillon Tigers as well. You know that. When you look at the matchups, you know that's going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, and you know, a Division I team. Now, obviously, with Massillon, you look at them.
Right.
You know,
they've
got Division I talent, but yeah, coming into your place, you don't want to lose that game, but you also know Mentor is with an experienced quarterback is going to give you a battle.
As great as the Mentor offense is, one of the concerns coming into the season was their defense. And I'm wondering, did Massillon find a hole right now in their secondary? So I'm curious to see how they're going to attack that the rest of the game here, and see if they can try to pull a win off against the Cardinals.
You know, let's shift gears a little bit. You look at Barberton, what we've seen from them, Zane Reese. It's a luxury to have a guy who has started so many games and has had success at a program that hadn't had the success since, you know, the mid to late 90s. So that a quarterback kind of calms everything else down and allows the other people to do, you know, their best.
Yeah, because you know what you're getting out of the position. And a coach knows what he's getting out of the position, and he can build something around that player when he's got multiple seasons where he can coach that guy, groom him, build an offense around him. He gets a chance to build a rapport with his receivers, his running backs, his line. I mean, that's the best way to put it. It just calms everything down because you know what you're getting out of the most important position.
And boy, if Zane's not doing it, Key Thompson's doing it. So, you know, if everything's working out. And as we've seen, you know, Zane and Key, you know, they've got other guys around them. So if things are falling out of place, they can get it to those guys and start making some plays and try to pull a win off.
And that senior class, which Key and Zane are part of, was the first class when Coach Gatto took over at his alma mater, and he kind of identified them as, you know, these guys are leaders even as freshmen. Well, it could end up being a pretty special year, and the Magic offense, still Magic, is they're doing it again, already with a 26-0 lead, and Barberton going to add some more as they drive the ball down into Norton territory. There's your man, Key Thompson, into the end zone, and pretty easy there.
Was that a wishbone? What was that?
I don't know. Nobody touched him.
Oh my God! I don't.
There. Nobody touched him.
That would be the offensive line doing their job. So 34-0 now is the Magic leading Norton. So Barberton off to a good start.
Trying to get everybody sent home early in that one. Go to the running clock, and you know, you did what you needed to do tonight.
Yep.
So that's what you want.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's coaching points, and there'll be plenty of things to dissect. But end of the day, check in the first week.
Win is a win, absolutely.
You look at some of the things that are challenges, and you know, Stowe has to feel pretty good. You know, they fell behind 10-0 early, 21 straight points, so they had that 21-10 lead. And again, that might even be better than if you came out and you know, dominated the entire time, because you graduated such a big part of the foundation of your program last year. You want to see how some of these guys that are now in leadership roles respond to the adversity. 21 straight points, well, they're responding pretty well.
Yeah, and what do the great programs do? They feed. They have great feeder systems.
Yep.
And this is the test now. You had a great class come through. You went to the playoffs. You put up a battle last year against St. Edward. You came up short, but probably one of the best runs that Stowe's ever had as a program. So now you want to see, all right, now what are the kids that watched that a little bit coming up? Now how do they respond? And when you had a 3-year starter at quarterback, we've seen what that can do to programs when that guy leaves. So now you want to see what your new quarterback can do. It's a good way to start the season, to play a close game, have to battle back a little bit. Now you have to hold on to a lead. You've had to do a little bit of everything in this game. It's a good test for a team that's trying to figure themselves out a little.
Well, a pretty good game going on over at Brecksville as Olmsted Falls taking on Brecksville, and Bulldogs with a lead in this one, and trying to get more as down inside the 2-yard line. And Luke Lombardo gets into the end zone. Didn't get in by much, but he does get in, so that extends the lead for the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs to 28-18. 28-18, Olmsted Falls leading Brecksville in the fourth quarter here in week 1.
You want to talk about big losses. Literally, big losses. Olmsted Falls had to replace Spencer Linville. Big dude, carried that team, 1,000-yard rusher. I mean, they were one of the good stories last year. They finished 9-4. They made it into the playoffs, had a nice run in the playoffs, and now they've got to replace Linville. But, they actually brought back 7 starters on offense, 8 on defense, so that's a team that can still be dangerous.
Sure. The thing is you're going to have somebody who steps into that workhorse role.
Yeah.
As long as you've got the guys in front of them, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and absolutely. They're going to have to build on that now. I mean, they've got a couple more weeks, but obviously that Southwestern Conference is going to be coming up soon, and they need to make sure that they've got all their ducks in a row before that starts coming up, because it's going to be a battle.
Yeah, and that was one of the ones last year where all the lower seeds from the Southwestern Conference and the one playoff region won. It was kind of the upside down region where 5, 6, 7, and 8 won in the first round. So,
well, and what makes it so hard is that's a conference where you play one non-conference game, and then that's it. You're in your conference.
Right.
You don't have any time to kind of grow and learn. You get right into conference play, and we know how difficult that conference can be. And it's Avon next week for Olmsted Falls. And no matter what, Avon, they're always going to bring a tough game, whether it's an up year, a down year. For them, I mean, I don't even know if they have down years, honestly. They're always
going
to
score.
Difficult.
And it's kind of interesting. They started the season last night out in Florida and beat Merritt Island, who's a perennial playoff team from Daytona Beach. Scored late in the game to beat Merritt Island from Daytona Beach in Florida. They played at the Disney Orlando World Complex. Scored a touchdown with less than a minute left to beat them, and that is a team that is a Division V perennial state playoff team in Florida. So Avon's pretty good. I guess that's a long way of saying Avon's pretty good this year.
It's a pretty nice season opener. We should have gone on location.
Yeah, I know.
We should have gone on location for that game. I think we'll have to suggest that next year.
Yeah, and they showed signs of that last year when they went undefeated during the regular season. The Eagles are doing really well. But that matchup, obviously we're looking ahead. Some of these games haven't finished up yet, but definitely that Eagles and that Olmsted Falls matchup, boy, that's going to tell a lot of things to us about these two teams, and can they make the playoffs again next year? Well, this year.
One of the most fascinating things that I saw and this was a couple years ago when I went out to Avon's practice. They run their offense, their up-tempo spread offense, with 2 entire systems, squads, so that they can up-tempo. I mean, it was exhausting trying to watch them, but that's how they get the tempo so up-tempoed. It's a basketball mentality. It's like, no, we're going to run a play every, I think it was 17 seconds, and if literally shoveling in 2 entire squads of wide receivers, running backs, and receivers. So the skill positions and the linemen were dying because they just had to keep running. So the way they practice that up-tempo spread offense is what makes it so effective.
And the way they warm up. Like, if you've ever seen them warm up before a game, they're out there running fly patterns, and they are moving these guys. I mean, these are not light warm-ups. They're warming up at that pace, too. So it is just constant with Avon.
And the opportunity to be able to get so many guys in at one time, that also helps to kind of be able to build the program as well. Some guys fall out, or they're not available for week 3. There's somebody else that can step in that knows the same plays, that knows the routine of what's going on the field and the tempo. So, hats off to Avon, and it shows it proving as well.
Well, we're going to step aside and take a quick timeout. We have our first final of the night, 28-18, as the Stowe Bulldogs go to 1-0. They beat Lake Catholic 28-18. We head to break with the Stowe alma mater, the victory song. So congratulations to the Bulldogs and Mark Norrie.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something.
All right, 5
more?
minutes, last big break.
Something
minutes.
special?
Yeah, that means they must have like
Something
the,
bigger than yourself?
players in this one. 101
Well,
reasons.
have you?
101 reasons that I need coffee.
Of high school sports, Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This city, this club, stands with you.
Danger from Mira!
What you live for lives here.
The volley, Kamara, yes!
Ohio's television home of Columbus Crew SC. Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
101 reasons to watch Friday Night Huddle this fall. We're going to talk about running backs along with Mark Porter from scoutingohio.com and Matt Gould from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Guys, running backs, the head of the class is a guy that could very well be special. Was hurt most of last year. Jalen Gill from Westerville South down in the Columbus area.
Yeah, one of the most explosive players you can see in Ohio. Watching him from a freshman year in games and films, you could see the change of direction, you can see the burst, you can see the twitch, you can see the juice, all those words that recruiters use to say elite level player. Jalen Gill is it. He's a hands down, not #1 player for his position, but maybe the entire state. Put him on offense, put him on defense, receiver, wherever you want to put him, the best player on the field.
And Matt, a guy I know you like from down in the Dayton area is Ravion Hargrove.
Yeah, Ravion Hargrove. He was the running back MVP at the opening regional at the Browns practice facility this past spring, marching up the leaderboard for state rushing. I believe he's over 5,000 yards right now. Workhorse running back for a team that should be one of the favorites in Division III. Helped him get there last year in Ravion Hargrove.
Matt, another guy I know you like that we've seen, William Collier, was playing for Akron-Hoban. He will be playing for Akron East this year.
Yeah, you can make an argument that he's returning home. He played with a lot of those guys growing up over at Akron East. Look for him as a safety as well. I think he's going to get college looks there, but of course we knew him because he was the backup for Todd Sibley over at Archbishop Hoban the last few years. Him and Devanir Floyd, now the feature backfield for Akron East, another Division III team that should be a big-time favorite in that region.
Mark, I know another guy you really like is John Branham Jr. from Columbus Northland, one of the city schools down in Columbus.
Yeah, I had to sit out 5 games at Northland, but when he came on the field, it exploded on the field. One of the hardest working players I've followed, has true dedication to the game. You mix that with his talent, and you may have one of the best backs in his class. He has a combination of power where he can blow through you with his legs and his big, a torso. And then when you see him in the open field, he's got the speed to run away from you. I can't wait to see him. He's one of the first kids I want to scout this year in 2019.
Wednesday nights, Get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview, Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
North Royalton with a lead, but North Ridgeville. Richmond throws, Kerr grabs it. Take a look at Kerr down the sideline, steps out of a tackle, and he is going to get into the end zone, 65 yards. The big play gives North Ridgeville a 21-17 lead. So the Rangers, who were down 9-0 at halftime, come up with a 65-yard touchdown to extend and take the lead 21-17, so it's now a 4-point lead as well. Field goal doesn't get it done.
Not a game with a lot of offense early, and now we're seeing big plays all over the place.
Yeah, now it's time for the North Ridgeville Rangers to kind of show off. Can they hold that lead and maybe even put some more points on the board, maybe kind of just put it out of reach for them.
And a big play, 65 yards. So you take that any day of the week,
yeah.
Especially when it gives you the lead.
Two teams that were 3-7 last year, so you want to get off to a good start when you're coming off a year like that.
Without question. And how about the Stowe Bulldogs? They fall behind, and they end up beating Lake Catholic. Pretty good team, 28-18. A nice win, especially considering the number of guys that graduated. And you know, that has, it can go either way. It can go one way or the other when you have a number of guys that graduate. Your guys that are stepping in and have waited can look at it as it's our time, which is apparently the way it looks like it's going. Or sometimes it just doesn't work out. You know, you get deflated because you've had to wait and you don't take advantage of the opportunity. But you had a number of guys stepping up for the Stowe Bulldogs.
And you see it with, you know, programs like Hudson, Solon, Aurora. You never want to be that group that ends the run, right? You always want to be the group that keeps the tradition going. And if Mark Norrie and his staff have created that kind of environment, like you said, okay, it's your turn now. Don't be the group that ends this. Be the group that keeps it going. You know, that can go a long ways.
Pretty good coaching pedigree for Mark Norrie as well. He was a linebacker coach for the San Francisco 49ers a couple years before he took over at the Stowe High School. So he has a little bit of credibility with his players, shall we say.
So. Yeah, and obviously, you know, for them to share a conference title last year with Hudson, they've got to find ways. They've got to find other ways of winning if things are not working out for them. So, you know, hats off to Stowe for getting the win tonight, but also Lake Catholic. You know, boy, that's going to be a team that I'm going to have to think about over the weekend and saying, man, you know, what can this team do? So.
Yeah, you know, they've got the pieces there. I mean, you know, the one thing about Stowe, they graduated Kyle Van Treese, they graduated Mike Miranda. Those are Division I type players. They still return an awful lot of skilled players who played in some pretty big games. They got a lot of team speed, and they've got, you know, their line is big. So they've kind of established that whole weight room is fun mentality, which sometimes you have to get them to buy into, but that's what you end up needing if you're going to have a big physical team, and it looks like they're pretty big up front.
Yeah, it does, and again, that's something that they've been able to do is grow them big and throw them out there and let them play some football.
Grow them big, and the ones that aren't are really fast.
Exactly.
It's a very good combination. So Stowe wins, they're 1-0, and Lake Catholic again stepping up a couple divisions, and they're now 0-1 and looking to get things turned around pretty quickly. Cougars felt like this could be a pretty special year, returning their quarterback, returning their top running back in Gibbons and Giffis. So certainly no shame in losing to a very good Division I program, but you know, at this point we got to figure it out and be 1-1 is what Lake Catholic is thinking.
Yeah, and for both sides now. I'm sure there's a lot of coachable moments in that game. Yep. Obviously when you lose there's a lot of coachable moments, but in that win too, with Stowe falling behind and then giving up that score that we saw. A lot of coachable moments, and that's what you love coming out of week 1. All right, good job, guys. Now let's get in the film room and do some coaching.
Don't do that. You know, the other thing is we touched on it a little bit. North Ridgeville fell behind 9-0, and think about, you know, the kind of the psychology of North Ridgeville. They give up a safety with less than 30 seconds to go in the half, and you're now down 9-0. Halftime probably wasn't real pleasant for the North Ridgeville Rangers, but they respond. They're now up 21-17.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want to see out of your football team. We talked about it with Glenville. You want to see that mental toughness. When things don't go your way, how do you respond? Because you play 10 football games, and you're going to have adversity over those weeks on the practice field, on Friday nights, and to see a team respond like that as a coaching staff, you have to like it.
And also at a home game, too. I mean, you got to be able to prove that you can win this game on a football field. So, you know, North Ridgeville, hats off to them. You know, glad to see that, you know, they were able to get down the field and score that touchdown and get up ahead of the game. But, you know, you got to be able to do that at home, you know.
Another team that, you know, looked very good, Strongsville. You know, 5 touchdowns in first half of football for Johnny Majors. So that's what you want to see.
And even though they were 2-8 last year, when you bring back starters, when you bring back 8 starters on offense, 5 starters on defense, that's 13 starters out of 22 guys. You should be able to do something with that. You should be able to build something with that. And look, you bring in a really good coach, a guy that had a ton of success at West Geauga. Now he comes over to Strongsville. You brought him in for a reason. You brought him in to try and turn this program around. Off to a good start. Johnny Major, we're going to make this Johnny football thing happen before the season is over. It's gonna
We're
happen.
not going to saddle anybody with that nickname, brother.
Happen. We're gonna take it back. We're taking back Johnny football.
But after this game here, I'm actually going to be thinking about Berea-Midpark and what's going to be going on in that locker room and what they're going to be talking about, because, you know, they're a team that has fallen kind of behind in the last couple of seasons here, but they've got to prepare for a conference that is going to be giving it to them week in and week out, and this was a home game for them. So how are they going to be able to defend their home field then if they're going to be doing like this?
Yeah, it's a challenge, and, you know, the numbers were there. It's not what you're looking for. It's not the start to the season that you want. You know, you mentioned the 13 starters. You know what they learned most from 2-8? 2-8 is just not any fun.
No.
That's what you take away. As somebody who's played on a team that had a record worse than that, let's not do that again, because that was no fun.
Yeah, those losses just keep piling up and piling up. You know, for Berea-Midpark, got some weapons. You know, I remember Luis Vega from last year, a guy we talked about on a few occasions on this show. Like, they've got some weapons that they can do some things with. This is just a tough start to their season.
Yeah, that's you got to find answers quickly. You know, the season, we keep saying there's 10 games. The season gets away from you awfully fast, and if you don't recover, you know, it just drags, and nobody wants to be a part of that. Nobody wants to see that. You know, interesting to see what Lorain is doing against Midview. That's a game that had some intrigue. Midview, always very good. You know, has historically been one of the best teams in Lorain County. Have made some playoff runs. You know, they had Logan Bolin and a couple of guys that have gone on to play. Cody Calloway have gone on to play in college. But Lorain is a team, and Nate, I think you know, talking to the coaches, that's a team that just coaches seem to love. Well coached, skill position players. They had big guys. They had fast guys. You know, they have a kid that's finished in the top 5 in the 100-yard dash is playing in the defensive backfield. You know, Zion Cross. So that they're a team that is, you know, the people that watch football really respect and admire. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Lorain, you know, again, I saw them last year in the playoffs, and this is a team that, you know, was very close to advancing to the next round. They bring back the pieces. They have a coach who knows his way around the football field, knows his way around the team, and then also across the field, you also got Midview as well, who has a coach who's been there as well. But with Dustin Crum, if you recall, from
Dustin
Midview.
Crum's another one.
But just watching this game, you just kind of seeing some veteran coaches who have done really well with their programs. But watch out for Lorain. They thought that they felt like they had it last year, and they could do it again this year.
You brought up Crum. I mean, that's such a big piece to lose. Obviously, he's had a ton of weapons, and you mentioned a few of them, but a 3-year starter rewrote the record books. I got
Cody Calloway was before him, and he rewrote it. Yeah,
and I got to see Crum play a lot, and I hate to use this name because he is a guy who's in the NFL, but he had a little bit of that Mitch Trubisky in him a little bit, and it was so good for them, and to have to replace that is so difficult. To replace a talent like that, 3-year starter for you, there's a big adjustment there. They've done it before, but you wonder how many times you can keep finding that guy.
Well, we are going to find Bill Mayville. Bill watched the Bedford and Nordonia game, which is now gone final. Bill, what went on with Bedford and Nordonia?
Yeah, guys, it was pretty much the same thing that I told you earlier, that too much athleticism for Bedford, too much speed. They just they ran circles around Nordonia for most of the game. The defense had no answer for Wilkins. Kenneth Wilkins finished 21 carries, 194 yards, 4 touchdowns, and even returned a pick on defense for 44 yards and a score. So he was all over the field tonight. They had no answers for him.
When you look at it, defense also getting it done for the Bedford Bearcats, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned it at halftime. The game started getting away pretty quickly, and it kind of made Nordonia a little more one-sided than they'd like to be, a little more one-dimensional, and I think it kind of played into Bedford's hands. They wanted to be able to, kind of tee off and go back after the quarterback, and they had Levac on the run quite a bit tonight. So,
what jumped out about the Bedford Bearcats for that 48-10 win? Obviously a good one for Coach Sean Williams. What did you see? What opened some eyes for you?
Honestly, the biggest thing was the speed and athleticism on the offense. It seems like everybody flies around. They had a lot of guys moving downfield, really trying to put pressure on the defense, and Nordonia struggled to keep up with them.
Bill Mayville, we appreciate it. Reporting as Bedford opens up the season with an impressive 48-10 win over Nordonia.
Yeah, small, fast weapons on the outside for their quarterback. We heard Bill talk about Kenny Wilkins. He's got Davian Johnson, D'Angelo Howard, both small, about 5'8", but those dudes can fly. And we heard you always like to hear guys when they see a team in person talk about speed, and it sounded like Bill was pretty blown away by that speed.
And Bedford's coach Sean Williams, I talked to him during the playoffs last year afterwards, and one of the key things that he mentioned to me was inconsistencies, and that's the big thing that really gets in the way of Bedford and success. And obviously, it looked like that the success weighed out over the inconsistencies in this game, and so if they can keep the inconsistencies down, if they can make more plays, more than mistakes and errors, they should be in good shape. So Bearcats, congratulations to them on winning that game. So,
Sean Williams has that program rolling. They got injured late last year, and that kind of affected their playoff seeding. But he's a heck of a coach. Kids respond to him. Has credibility. Played in the NFL for a little bit. So, Sean Williams, very good coach. We're going to check in on a Central Ohio game as Lincoln playing Westerville Central, and talked about this guy a little bit earlier, Michael Lowry, just a junior. You see the quarterback scrambles around, sets up and throws. Otis Buckner goes and grabs it as Gahanna Lincoln now a 24-3 lead on the Lowry to Buckner touchdown pass. Michael Lowry, just a junior, a really good quarterback, and you saw some of the athleticism, kind of reverse pivot, throws it up, and Buckner goes and makes a play.
Trust your receivers, right? You're going to scramble around. You know where a guy's going to be. Trust him to go get it when you throw the ball up. Maybe not the greatest decision, but when you can make plays like that, you'll take it.
Touchdown looks like a great decision in the line score in the morning.
Somebody was sitting up in the coach's booth saying, no, great throw.
Yes.
Yeah, and Gahanna Lincoln, kudos to them getting ahead in the game right now. But I think the coach knew what he was getting out of his quarterback this season. He said, "Man, if we can try to keep the turnovers down, we should have a good shape of winning this Week 1 game and maybe even go a little further in the season."
And he is Lowry is one of the guys we talked about, Nate, on the top 101 players. 101 reasons you should watch us every Friday night. He's one of those players, and you saw the play, the reverse pivot, put it where his guy could go and get it. That's basically what he did. And Buckner did a good job. If you noticed, he got his body to shield the defender, which automatically gives him, the ability to go and grab the football. So a nice touchdown pass from Lowry to Buckner down in central Ohio. The other thing that we've talked about a little bit is, Menor opened up that 28-7 lead, and, the long play by Massillon made it 28-14. See if the Tigers can cut back into that 14-point lead now as well. Got to do it defensively. You and I have talked about that. Defense.
Menor gives you opportunities because there's going to be a lot of possessions, but you've got to actually do something and get them off the field, and that is not an easy thing to do when you're going against a team like Menor, especially with the way they're running the ball.
Right.
That just adds another element. So now you're not just worried about those quick little passes to the receivers. You're not just worried about the downfield threats. Now you're worried about draw plays. You're worried about them running right at you. It's a problem.
Yeah, and Menor's offense, I am not concerned about. I'm not worried about. They're going to get theirs. Tatis is going to help that. But boy, I am really looking at that defense. It was a concern starting the preseason. It looked like it was a concern at the start of this game. But we're going to see, can they hang on, and if Massillon's going to see that hole in the defense as well. So,
well, we kind of touched on it a little bit. The Tigers' defense trying to get the stop against Menor, and the Cardinals' offense has it inside the 10-yard line, and you see that spread look. And this time, new quarterback in there. That's not Tatis Tatarunas. He's a little shorter. Tatis goes about 6'3". Luke Floria, a little zone reading. Boy, that worked out pretty well as he keeps it and gets into the end zone as well. 49-14.
Okay.
So the answer was no, they haven't been able to slow down the Menor Cardinals offense. Not a good opening game for the Massillon Tigers.
You go into that stadium and you put 49 points on that scoreboard, you're off to a pretty good start.
Yeah. I'm hoping that there was nothing wrong with an injury or things like that with Tatis when we didn't see him in there. Maybe it was just by design.
I'm guessing with the score, it was 42-14. So yeah, you probably.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's the case, then like I told you earlier, I'm fine with the Cardinals' offense. But yeah, definitely. I want the game's not over yet, but great job getting ahead. So I'm already looking forward to Week 2 already with them.
Yeah, they have St. Ignatius coming up, who defeated Hoban 17-3 yesterday to start off things. So
it's a little strength against strength there.
Yeah, that might be an interesting one.
Yeah, I would say so.
That might be a little interesting.
Put a circle around that one.
The other thing that we've touched on a little bit, Glenville falls behind 32-0 in the first, 32-21 in the third, midway through the third. So the question is, can Glenville's defense, and it comes back to the same thing, can your defense get stops that allows your offense to get back in the game?
Yeah, when you're down like that and you're trying to come back, it comes down to two things: stops, turnovers, special teams. If you can make some things happen in those three areas, you can get back in a football game. Oh, and big plays, like a guy putting out a 56 and a 48-yard run. That'll help you too.
Yeah, without question, not a problem at all.
Yeah, I want to see an update on that game. I'm excited to see an update on that game. Our guy Bryant Kaiser, he's going to have something good for us, I'm sure.
The pickle juice.
Pickle juice.
Pickle juice.
It's a wives' tale, Brian. They don't really.
Maybe that's what they did. Maybe they went into the locker room and they had the pickle juice in there.
Although I say it's a wives' tale, a lot of teams do that. Honestly, they have pickle. I know more than 5 that do that, and they feel. Well, if you think about it, there's salt in it, so that kind of helps. There's kind of garlic. There's some vinegar. So I get it. I still think it's a wives' tale, but there are teams that truly believe that.
If Brian Kaiser tells me to do pickle juice, I'm doing pickle juice. That's how it goes.
But yeah, you were mentioning earlier about Euclid and Glenville with the big plays. Both teams have the ability to be able to do both of those things. Arquan Bush from Euclid and Glenville's skilled players that are just lining up waiting to get into the game. They all want to play. But they have the ability to be able to change the game around. But we'll see what happens. But like I said, Glenville got down early. Look like they're trying to chip in that lead now. So.
In what Coach Ginn had said, he was trying to find some consistency from the quarterback position, just because everybody's young. He said they're good, they're just young. And until you get out with the lights on Friday night and the speed of the game is what it is, you really don't know what you have if you are starting a player in his first varsity game. So Glenville's going to sort through that. I'm sure they'll find the answer to that.
And to kind of show you this timeline of circle, just last year, we were talking about Andrew Spikes, who played quarterback. Yep. I even asked Coach about him last year. I was like, who was this guy that was actually talking to the running back, asking him about the play? And he was like, that might have been him. And so there had to be some growth between that game, which was actually a St. Edward game, which I'm telling you actually coming back because they're going to have to play them next week. But there was some growth at that quarterback position, and right now they've got to be able to find that leadership at that position. So.
Well, and Bryant said they figured out the zone read. They better have it figured out because St. Ed's under Tom Lombardo, they run that pretty well.
Yeah, I would say so.
He didn't invent the zone read, but it's pretty close.
He runs it like he invented it, that's for sure.
We're going to step aside and take a quick time out as we near the top of the hour. As we go to break, our student reporter, Jenna DePippo from Mayfield High School, interviews the head coach. She told you she was going to do it. Mayfield beats Walsh Jesuit 10-0. Here's Jenna DePippo after the win.
Congratulations on your win tonight.
Thank you.
So what do you think as a team? How do you guys think you did?
I'm proud of the kids. They came out and played extremely hard. We put all this time in the off season and before school, after school. You got to give a lot of credit to all the student athletes out there that worked hard. So we're excited. We're looking forward to the year.
Great start to the first year.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
Home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Every week, from the locker room to the pitch and everywhere in between, Access Crew SC is your ultimate inside look at the black and gold. Join Marissa Contepelli, Dwight Burgess, and Neil Sika for unmatched coverage, in-depth analysis, and exclusive talks with the players and coaches. This is your club. This is your Access. Access Crew SC, Wednesdays on Spectrum Sports.
"101 Reasons to Watch Friday Night Huddle this fall," along with Mark Porter from ScoutingOhio.com and Nate Cline from Cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Mark, as we talk about linebackers, one guy that is among the best in the country, Dallas Gant, is an Ohio State recruit, and you know him pretty well.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of those games to watch him, and boy, is he athletic. And that, when you talk about the linebackers of the future at the college NFL, these guys got to be able to cover running backs. They can't come off the field on third downs. They have to be more athletic than a tailback. And this is what you have. You have a tailback standing over at linebacker with safety, corners-like skills that can play the run like a linebacker and be physical, but also in these passing spread things can walk out over a receiver, walk out on a running back or a tight end and not be worried at all as a defensive coordinator. Unbelievable athlete.
Nate, a guy that seems like he's been at Massillon forever is Jameer Thomas. He's only a junior as well.
Yeah, no offense to the seniors on this list, but I got to go with this junior here on the. This guy plays both sides of the football. He's big, he's fast, and I believe and quite naturally he's going to be kind of a key piece to what Washington does during the regular season.
You look at this list, and there are some guys that really jump out. Xavier Peters from Lakota West, Kentucky. Kentucky's coming in and getting some really good players from Ohio this year.
Yeah, and Xavier Peters had the Alabama and Ohio State tape offers. He's one of those guys that when you see him in a combine setting, looks like he belongs in the NFL right now. Long body, has a lot of room to grow and add weight, but athletic again. A guy that will not come off the field. If he's not fast enough to be covering a running back, he'll be coming off the edge, rushing a tackle, pass rush skills, run stopping skills, pass coverage skills. This is why these guys are elite when they have that many dominating qualities to them.
Tuesday nights, it's game time. Join Greg Miller, Steve Hellwagon, and Josh Harris as they break down the week's best in Ohio college football. Your teams, your schools.
Look at that acrobatic move.
What you live for lives here. Game Time Ohio, Tuesdays at 8. Only on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle, along with Nate Cline and Dan Labbe. I'm Dave Bacon. We told you earlier the Bedford Bearcats impressive in their Week 1 win over the Nordonia Knights. And our Bill Mayville has Sean Williams, head coach of the Bedford Bearcats. Bill?
So, Coach, in terms of the way you wanted to start the season, you probably couldn't have drawn it up much better than this.
No, we couldn't have drawn it up any better than this. I mean, this right here was a great win for us to start the season off on the road, playing a great team in Nordonia. I mean, this was a huge victory for us. Huge.
The play of your offensive line and your offense, Kenny Wilkins, 21 carries, 194 yards, 4 touchdowns. What can you say about your offense tonight?
This is what we wanted to do. We've always been a team that wants to run the ball. Our offensive line, we've been working for 2 years to try to establish strength, leverage, and having a great guy like Coach Bodeker back in the fold has really been a big difference and a great help for us up front. And Kenny Wilkins is an amazing athlete.
Kenny even adds one on the defensive side, taking that touchdown back. What did you see from him on the defensive side?
He was amazing. He had one pick that wasn't given to him. He probably had about 10 to 15 tackles behind the line of scrimmage. That's probably one of the best players in the state of Ohio, hands down. He wasn't on the field last year, but he's coming back this year, and he's making a statement. And I'm really anxious to see what him, Davion, D'Angelo Howard, Jaden Smith, and the rest of those guys continue to do as a great offense.
What did you see from your defense today? You got them a little one-dimensional as you got into halftime.
Yes. I mean, we were able to come out. We gave up a long pass down the field, and we had to cut down on the penalties. But we were able to get out there, play with our hands, not run up the field, make some defensive stops, and be able to tackle, not grab, and really get after it today. So it was really impressive to see in the first game, mistakes, but things that we can clean up, but really getting after it on the defensive side of the ball is what we want to do.
I imagine the penalties is something you want to clean up.
Definitely. I mean, that's something that we cannot have. You're not going to be able to continue to play at a high level and have penalties of that caliber. By no means. It won't happen.
Solon?
So obviously a very happy Sean Williams, 48-10. They get it done against Nordonia, and offense, defense, clean up the penalties. That's the coaching moment. But if you have playmakers like they have on the offensive side of the ball, and you have an aggressive defense that runs to the ball, you're going to win a lot of football games, and you're going to win a lot of football games against good teams.
And the thing that is going to kill you is if you get those big plays and there's some yellow laundry sitting behind you,
right.
30 yards back. So typical coach right there, huh? You win 48-10, but got to clean up the penalties.
Sean Williams is a very smart coach, and he knows exactly who's coming behind them in that region. Hoban is a new team in their division. He has Copley. He has Nordonia is right behind them now. They needed this win, and as we talked about earlier, as far as inconsistencies, they need to keep that down. Obviously, talking about the penalties as well. But hats off to the Bedford Bearcats for pulling this game out. But Sean Williams, he knows what's coming, and they got it to win.
Knows what's coming, and he knows how to win. So obviously, when you've got that type of ability to make big plays on both sides of the ball, last thing you want to do is keep shooting yourself in the foot, because that will hurt you eventually. But great win for the Bedford Bearcats over the Nordonia Knights. A little bit after 10 o'clock, so we've got a lot of finals that are starting to roll in, and the kind of an impressive start for Stowe and for Bedford. Those are two teams that you think could go far in the playoffs even.
Yeah, and for Bedford, Division II, Region 5, that's a very difficult region. We talk about teams not being able to really fall behind. Stowe in Division I, when you're one of the smaller public schools in Division I, you can't afford losses early in the season. You've got to come ready to play, and you've got to get as good a seed as you can get. At least try and get that first playoff home game, and then see what happens. You've got to build that confidence. So that's a good first one for them too.
Division I, Region 1 is the big boy region, along with Division 4 region, Division 1, Region 4. Yep. Those are the two big boy divisions.
Yeah, you better come ready to play from week 1 of the season if you want to contend in there. And Menor, that's a way to start a season too.
Well, 49 and counting. And that was still in the fourth quarter. So you put 49 points on the board when you go down to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium.
I think it was worth the drive.
Sign. It's a good sign.
It was worth the drive.
Having said that, some challenges ahead of you as you have St. Ignatius and then Glenville. So you're going to see some power, and then you're going to see some speed. So there will be different challenges each week.
Oh, and then you turn around and play Strongsville, who played well tonight. I mean, that's not going to be a gimme. Menor's a better team than them. Solon is on that schedule still. Euclid is on that schedule. I mean, it just never gets easy for Menor, and that's the way Coach Trevisano likes it.
That's what he wants it. Because then by the time, if you do what you think you're going to do, by the time you get to week 11, you're ready.
Yeah.
Now we can play.
Yeah, and never mind that the Cardinals always have that target on their back no matter what.
Must be the red. I don't know. But yeah, that week 2 game for Menor when they played St. Ignatius, we got a chance to see them last night against Hoban. St. Ignatius got a win in the game, but their front 7, that was what really stood out in that game. Menor's going to have to try to find a way to either get around it or maybe throw over them. I don't know. But that's going to be for Menor to decide. But no, St. Ignatius, they're not going to lay down, and we're going to see what happens. So.
The interesting thing, you mentioned St. Ignatius front 7. That was kind of the question mark for them because that's where they graduate. The back half, they've got very good secondary people who are experienced. Cameron Toppin had a couple interceptions in that game. He started last year. They return a number of secondary players, which if you're going against a spread, you need. So that'll be a very tough matchup for the Menor Cardinals.
Absolutely, yeah. Tatis, I'm sure he's going to try to find his receivers, but boy, St. Ignatius secondary is going to be very stingy. And I actually even put that in my story. I said Coppin was probably the most stingiest cornerback on that football field last night. But it's going to be a heck of a game to see. The Wildcats are coming off that 17-3 win against Hoban, who started a freshman quarterback, actually, yep. Shane Ham. The team there was some inconsistencies on both sides of the football field, but I think that Tim Tyrell is going to try to get that ready for week 2. But
I saw a lot of that game, and I thought Hoban's defense was really fast and physical, and I think they're going to be one of the favorites in Division II. I think the quarterback's a concern, but think about it this way: you start a 9th grader against St. Ignatius, and as you're coaching them up. Son, it isn't going to get any tougher than this. That's, you know what I mean? That's the message. And as a 9th grader, he's not only playing St. Ignatius. He's playing the team that has the most wins in OHSAA history. And as much as you try to put that out of your mind when you're 13, 14, 15, 16, however old he is as a freshman, it creeps into your mind.
And you're carrying the expectations created by the guys who left.
Yep.
You're coming in and what we talked about. You don't want to be the guy
right.
that is responsible for ending that. And he said he's not that old. 14 years old. 50, you know, I don't know exactly how old he is, but that's a tough spot to be in. And to kind of get to open against St. Ignatius and get that learning experience, Hoban's going to be just fine.
And to come behind a two-time state champion quarterback, and
Yep.
Danny Clark, wow. Oof.
Yep. A lot of expectations, but you know he'll be fine. The cupboard is not bare at Hoban. No. The cupboard is quite full of talent, both sides of the ball. So the Hoban Knights will be just fine in Division II. You know, if you're Lake Catholic, you had the really nice start. You're trying to end a playoff drought. Again, no shame in losing to a Division I program, but at some point you got to start seeing the results in wins.
And you're playing that game with a purpose. You know, you're playing that game because it gets you points.
Right.
You know, you win that game, it's more valuable than winning some games in your division. And you're playing a team that has been a perennial playoff team over the years, a team that's trying to reload. You're coming back with your guys. So it's probably a little disappointing to go on the road and lose that game coming off a 5-5 season. But it was a close game. They were in the game late. You know, they just weren't able to pull it off. I'm sure there's something to build on out of that game moving forward.
And the Cougars are going to get a chance to find a Division I team and try to get those points off, and that's going to be Cleveland Heights next week. You know, definitely a couple of the glimpses that we saw of Lake Catholic's offense, some of the read options, some of the talent, some of the linemen that we saw. My goodness, you know, they should be in good shape when they play the Cleveland Heights Tigers next week. But they're going to get a chance to see if they can get some points from that.
And you know what? That'll be an interesting game. Two teams that will have a little bit of a sense of urgency, because it looked like Cleveland Heights wasn't going to be able to get it done against Cardinal Mooney. Mooney opened up a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter. So all of a sudden, you get to week 3 and you haven't won, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, the screws get a little bit tighter the longer you go.
So that will be very interesting. You know, we're trying to find out how was Glenville able to respond a little bit more. So that'll be another thing that we're chasing down as well. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out as we are after 10 o'clock, almost 10:15, week 1 of high school football, Friday Night Huddle. We'll be right back on cleveland.com and Spectrum Sports.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
Home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Every week, from the locker room to the pitch and everywhere in between, Access Crew SC is your ultimate inside look at the black and gold. Join Marissa Contebelli, Dwight Burgess, and Neil Sika for unmatched coverage, in-depth analysis, and exclusive talks with the players and coaches. This is your club. This is your Access. Access Crew SC, Wednesdays on Spectrum Sports. Tuesday nights, it's game time. Join Greg Miller, Steve Hellwagon, and Josh Harris as they break down the week's best in Ohio college football. Your teams, your schools.
Look at that acrobatic move.
What you live for lives here. Game Time Ohio, Tuesdays at 8. Only on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle, along with Dan Labbe and Nate Cline. I'm Dave Bacon. Final scores coming in from Week 1, and Solon comes back and beats Aurora 15-14.
They do. Matt Gould tweeting that out, 15-14 win for Solon. So we don't know exactly how it happened. Actually, it was a 22-yard field goal with 6:44 left in the game. So it did come down to
kind of ironic.
To the kicking game.
Well, you don't kick either of the extra points, and then the field goal wins it at the end of the game.
Yeah, from about an extra point distance. Yeah. So Solon 1-0. Jim McQuaid just knows how to win close games. He's not afraid to play close games, too. That's the thing. He'll play a game tight to the vest and try and win it late, and that's what they were able to do against Aurora tonight.
And the other game that we had been talking about, Euclid, in fact, does beat Glenville to go to 1-0. Glenville 0-1, 39-21. So a couple of big plays got Glenville on board, got them back in it, but Euclid able to right things and shut it down.
Yeah, and this is the way it started last year for Glenville. You know, they went down 0-1 to Euclid, and are we seeing the same thing that's going to happen from last year? We're going to see it this year, and you know, that wasn't a good sight to see them down so early in the game. Was able to put some points on the boards. Was able to put some points on the board at some point, but they need to fix the corrections because St. Edward next week. So
yeah, it's frustrating because if you're Coach Ginn, you're happy your team fought back.
Right.
But why are you down that much in the first place? Why are you down 32-6 after the first quarter? Because you saw how well you played against this team for the other 3 quarters. So, you know, you try and spin it a little bit for your guys, try and build that confidence, but it's got to be a frustrating moment to come out that flat in your first game and just not have a chance, really, even though they tried to fight back. Once you're down 32-6, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and, you know, and that was in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So you're not giving yourself really much of an opportunity. You have like eliminated any room for error, no margin for error whatsoever in 3 quarters, and that's asking way too much from any team.
Yeah, when you've got to come back, you've got to take chances.
Right.
So, you know, good luck playing a perfect football game when you're down 32-6 and you've got to play 3 quarters, you know, trying to get big plays, trying to take some chances, trying to do some things out of character.
And you know, great win for the Solon Comets. You know, we kind of glossed over that a little bit, but, you know, they fell behind, came back. You know, the 2 2-point conversions in the end, it's the kicker that gets it done to win the game.
Yeah, and you know, I'm looking through Matt Gould's feed here. It was a back-and-forth game. You know, obviously, it was low scoring, but, you know, you had Aurora jumping out 7-6, and Solon has to fight back after missing that two-point try. So a good gutsy win for Solon.
And in talking with the Aurora coaching staff during camp, you know, they knew good and well what they were getting themselves into Week 1 when they were going to face Solon. So I'm sure they would have loved to come out with a win and go home with that. But, you know, next thing, they got to get ready for Week 2. But I don't think they should have to hang their head about this game here. I think they're going to be in some good shape.
And they got Euclid in Week 2, so no breaks.
Nope. Get ready. Get ready. They're pretty fast. Well, a team that showed up and played very well in Week 1 is the Menor Cardinals. They go down to Massillon and beat the Tigers. And Ryan Isley has Tadas Tatarunas, the quarterback for the Menor Cardinals, who were victorious tonight.
Tadas, we talked to Coach, and he said that he really wasn't worried about the slow start. He kind of maybe expected it a little bit. From the quarterback's perspective, what was going through your mind when they were up 7-0, you guys weren't able to move the ball?
Yeah, we came out way too hard. We were juiced. We weren't focused. We needed to calm down. But since we calmed down, got in the swing of things, we were all right.
How big was it for you to get the running game going so that it opened up the pass game for yourself?
Yeah, definitely it's huge for me to get in the running game and for the running backs to get in the running games. The offensive line made great holes. We were just running all over them, and that gave us confidence, and it opened up the passing game, so we took shots deep, and it went out well for us.
It felt like almost you were throwing all the little short outs real quick, and that opened up the deep game a little later on. Is that what happened tonight?
Yeah, we took what they gave us.
Yeah, baby!
We took what they gave us. As soon as they started taking that away, they were leaving down the field open, so we just took advantage of that.
How about the defense tonight? Like I said, you guys had a slow start, but the defense picked it up for you guys, got a couple turnovers, and then once you guys got a ball rolling, you were just going.
Yeah, the defense definitely stepped up today. They gave us the confidence to go out there swinging. We couldn't do it without them because they gave us the momentum.
When it was 7-0 after the first quarter, did you ever think you were only going to play 3 quarters tonight?
No. I mean, they're a really good team. We just came out to play, and I mean, our team looked good, and we just got to keep it rolling.
(49-14) the final. Mentor defeats Massillon, and one of the best things you saw about that, the offensive line. Giving the quarterback grief, that's always a good sign. Take care of the big guys up front. They take care of you.
I'm surprised no one has said it yet, but he did say juiced up. So let's just stay with the theme of the pickle juice. So, but no, Tatis, I mean, congratulations to the Mentor Cardinals for getting the win this week. They're going to need it going ahead for the playoffs. And I know it's week 1, but obviously, why not look at the playoffs ahead? But hats off for them getting the win in week 1. They've got St. Ignatius look ahead now and try to clean up whatever mistakes they made in this game here.
And the number you like, if you're Coach Trevisano, obviously the 49, but how about that 14? Your defense showed up.
All right, here's the number that we really like. Normandy wins their first game since 2012. They defeat Wellington, and we are joined by Brian Darden, who is on his way back from Normandy. 42-21, Normandy wins. They end that streak. Coach, I got to share the conversation with you that I had over the week. I think it was yesterday. I said, I want to talk to you when you end this streak, and you told me, I guess you're going to be talking to me tomorrow night. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
I told you.
You did. We had that conversation. I agreed with you. Tell me about the what you said to your kids and just how proud you are. Need to let people know your first game at Normandy. You were a defensive coordinator with Bedford. Congratulations, you end that 41-game losing streak. What'd you tell your team? How proud are you of your guys?
I just told them how proud I was of them and how all the hard work paid off and that they're no longer can be considered losers because this group here is a group of winners so far and that this is just the beginning and that we got a lot more games to win.
Tell us some of the things that got you this win. We saw the score 42-21. I know you had the lead. I know it went back and forth. Tell me some of the things that got you this win.
Mainly our conditioning, man. We came out and realized during camp that we weren't as in condition as we needed to be. So we were able to sustain throughout the whole game now and then made a couple halftime adjustments based off what we saw they were doing and let our go-to guy be the guy, and that's what he came through and delivered for us.
A game like this, obviously, there's going to be some lasting impressions, some memories that you have. What kind of images get into your mind? What will you remember about this win? Your first win, your first game, ends a 41-game losing streak for your kids. What images do you have here?
The excitement and the facial expression to know that they were able to win the game for the first time. I have a senior who's been here and hasn't won a game in high school ever. So to be able to see their faces and then to my coaches' faces, because I know they hate me sometimes with all the hard work and all the hours we put in. But like I said, to see their faces, to see the kids' faces and how excited they were and how the fans came out and supported, it's just a great feeling all around.
Now, you came over from Bedford. Did you bring some things from Sean that you tried to implement over there?
Intensity?
Yes. Intensity? Up. You there, Brian? He was coming back from Wellington, so there is a cell phone void. But again, Brian Darden, congratulations to the Normandy Invaders. That's outstanding, and he did tweet something out before the game, and there you go.
Money.
Oh, I love it.
Stops now. That was true story. I called him on his cell phone yesterday, and I said, Coach, want to talk to you when you end your streak. And I said, I know it's. He said, guess you'll be talking to me tomorrow night. And I said, I plan on it.
I was hoping, before we lost him, I was hoping to ask him, how he approached the streak with his players. Did they talk about it? And maybe you guys talked about this in the story you wrote. I don't know, but Did they talk about it? Did they not talk about it? Did they own the streak? I'm just wondering kind of how he approached that. I mean, it's really incredible that they were able to break that in his first game as head coach.
So yeah, you know what? We've talked about how tough it is to put all that hard work in and to not see the results. So that's a great story. I'm happy for the kids. I'm happy for the senior. I think there's 2 seniors that had never won a football game.
Wow.
So congratulations, young men.
And how many kids? How many kids came out this year? How many kids did they give jerseys to?
Yeah, I think we were counting 30, maybe a little under like that. Yeah, it's just congratulations to the Normandy football team. You know, I will share one story. I talked to one of the members from the 2012 football team, and they were obviously surprised by the streak. But one thing he pointed out, and he brought up the coach that coached him at the time. He said if we can just get one win, you know, we just never know what that's going to lead to. And, you know, I'm curious to see after this week 1 win, what's going to happen for the Parma Normandy Invaders. So,
well, you know, the 2012 in October was their last win. They beat Valley Forge 12-7. So, again, congratulations, Brian Darden. That's one of my favorite moments from week 1.
That's incredible.
Having suffered through a 2-23 baseball season, I can kind of relate because baseball, when you have a season like that, it's every day. So I mean, that's rough.
Yeah.
So the Normandy Invaders beat Wellington. Congratulations to Brian Darden. Starts out his career as head coach at Normandy on a winning note.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I like that one.
His tweet was good. His tweet was good too. I'm just looking over
We
this.
appreciate him.
If you see that tweet, how are you not going to that game?
Don't stop.
You're scrolling through your
get it.
feed, not knowing what you're doing tonight, and then you see that tweet. Oh, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Absolutely.
Going to watch Normandy.
How can you not not respect that, not like that? And he did. He knew. I mean, it wasn't maybe he said we're going to win. So points to him.
And when you have a coach that's confident, especially at the high school level, and you have a coach that players believe in them, and in talking to him, obviously we only talked to him for a few seconds, but seeing this tweet, the optimism, and of course you wrote that story. So when you have that bleeds down, and you just wonder if that can they win 3 games? Can they win? How many games can they actually win? I don't know. I don't know their full schedule. I don't know the opponents they have to face off the top of my head, but let's see what they can do with this.
So Normandy ends. That was the longest active losing streak in the OHSAA, 41 games. So congratulations to the Invaders. Put that thing away. And okay, we're done talking about that. So Brian Darden wins his first game as head coach. Came over from Sean Williams' staff, was a defensive coordinator for the Bedford Bearcats. So St. Ed's goes to Erie, Pennsylvania and wins. So that's not a surprise. They had some young guys looking at, there was a quarterback battle going on, 2 pretty good quarterbacks, but the Eagles come out on top as well.
Yeah, and that's what you expect, right? And here's St. Ignatius and St. Ed's after 1 week sitting at 1-0, and everybody's looking for that collision course in week 10.
Yeah, and so right now, I mean, even in week 1, this is the situation that we're in, and my colleagues and I are going to go back to, and we're going to say, okay, well, St. Edward won this week, St. Ignatius won this week, so is there someone else in the lead ahead right now, whose win is bigger than the other? But, we're going to keep watching these teams and see how they do. St. Ignatius is going to be ready for week 2, and we'll see what happens. So,
yeah, still gathering some information in Midview and Lorain. That's another game that's very interesting, and looking at that as well.
Yeah, and that's a great way for both teams to start facing tough opponents. And I think I had seen that at one point Midview had taken the lead, but I haven't seen a final score or anything from that game to this point. But you love that. I think as a coach, you love that test in week 1. You love, okay, we got Midview. Midview's got to travel to Lorain. Lorain's thinking, all right, let's host this team. Let's show them what we're made of. You just love that as a head coach to kind of test your mettle in week 1, I think.
And as he was talking, we went to go find the final score, 37-34 in favor of the Middies. So we'll see how, you know, like you just mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
just with Normandy, you know, we're going to see what a win can do for a program after week 1. So,
You know, that's kind of the type of game you would expect. Back and forth, high scoring. Midview is a team, if you're going to beat them, you usually have to outscore them. Not too many people are going to shut down that offense.
Yeah, and it's a tough game to lose. It's one of those games where, you know, it's the cliche, somebody's got to lose it. So if you're Lorain, you look at it, you learn from it, you put it away, and you move on. You played a really good team and you lost to them. It's week 1. You move on now and keep pushing forward.
You look at it, and you know, Euclid, that's an impressive win. I know probably the second half isn't exactly what Jeff Rotsky wanted, as they had that big lead, but to come out and you know, put it on a pretty athletic Glenville team like that's a good start.
yeah, Euclid, I mean, they know what is in store for them. They got to get ready for the Greater Cleveland Conference, and so every win's going to count. Every mistake they need to avoid doing. Yeah, Euclid's in good shape. Glenville, they're going to have to figure out what went wrong and why didn't we do it earlier. So.
And the other game we were looking at, Elyria and Avon Lake, and that one was close early, and that's one we're looking for the final on as well. And you know, it's interesting game. You know, Elyria was without their quarterback, and kind of rallying and doing things pretty well, and Avon Lake trying to come back.
Yeah, and it looks like the final from Avon Lake, they hung on to defeat Elyria 21-20. So a close game there. You know, these early season games for Avon Lake, trying to build off what they did last year. That was such a huge win to knock Avon off in the playoffs. We talked about that. So you try to build on that. You have a head coach taking over now for his first year. You know, hopefully you got something going there.
But if I'm Elyria, I've got to really be hot about this loss. I mean, like, look, we had our quarterback go out. Look, we gave it our best effort. Everybody came to play. But, man, to lose that game, I know that's got to be a tough feeling. But they're going to get a chance to rebound in week 2. So we'll see what happens. So,
as week 1 comes to a close, what's memorable for you? What do you?
Aside from Normandy, I think Menor. I think seeing Menor go down to Massillon and put up 49 points, only allow 14, get their ground game going. We talked 3 or 4 times probably about how they got off to that slow start last year. For them to take that trip, win that game, that's a good bus ride home. And that's got to be encouraging for that football team.
I think the game that I'm looking at is that Euclid and Glenville game, more so on the Glenville side. If I'm somebody in the Senate right now, I'm thinking I might have a shot at being able to knock the Tarblooders off for the very first time. It's been since 1997 that this has happened, and you know, especially after losing that game to Euclid, you know, I think I might have a good shot. And as far as Euclid's concerned, you know, they look like they're right back on where they finished off last year, and trying to go for that conference title.
No, wait. Are you calling your shot that Glenville's going to lose the Senate
game?
Oh,
I don't know. I mean, there's yeah. Go ahead. There you go. I mean, look, there's actually some tough teams in the Senate, and I know it's kind of hard to believe. They're like, well, you know, this record has been long-standing for so long, but, you know, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. John Hay has been putting in some work. John F. Kennedy's been putting in some work, and there's some key players around some other teams in the city. But who that team will be to finally knock off the Tarblooders, we're going to find out. But right now, Glenville looks like they can take a blow.
All right, we're going to step aside, take a quick time out. One more break, and then we will be back to wrap up week 1 of Friday Night Huddle here on Spectrum Sports and cleveland.com.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
Of high school sports, Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This city, this club stands with you.
Danger from Mira!
What you live for lives here.
The volley, Kamara, yes!
Ohio's television home of Columbus Crew SC. Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
101 reasons to watch Friday Night Huddle this fall. We're going to talk about running backs along with Mark Porter from scoutingohio.com and Matt Gould from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Guys, running backs, the head of the class is a guy that could very well be special. Was hurt most of last year, Jalen Gill from Westerville South down in the Columbus area.
Yeah, one of the most explosive players you can see in Ohio. Watching him from a freshman year in games and films, you can see the change of direction, you can see the burst, you can see the twitch, you can see the juice, all those words that recruiters use to say elite level player. Jalen Gill is it. He's a hands down, not #1 player for his position, but maybe the entire state. Put him on offense, put him on defense, receiver, wherever you want to put him, the best player on the field.
And Matt, a guy I know you like from down in the Dayton area is Ravion Hargrove.
Yeah, Ravion Hargrove. He was the running back MVP at the opening regional at the Browns practice facility this past spring, marching up the leaderboard for state rushing. I believe he's over 5,000 yards right now. Workhorse running back for a team that should be one of the favorites in Division III. Helped him get there last year in Ravion Hargrove.
Matt, another guy I know you like that we've seen, William Collier, was playing for Akron-Hoban. He will be playing for Akron East this year.
Yeah, you can make an argument that he's returning home. He played with a lot of those guys growing up over at Akron East. Look for him as a safety as well. I think he's going to get college looks there, but of course we knew him because he was the backup for Todd Sibley over at Archbishop Hoban the last few years. Him and Devanir Floyd, now the featured backfield for Akron East, another Division III team that should be a big-time favorite in that region.
Mark, I know another guy you really like is John Branham Jr. from Columbus Northland, one of the city schools down in Columbus.
Yeah, I had to sit out 5 games at Northland, but when he came on the field, it exploded on the field. One of the hardest working players I've followed, has true dedication to the game. You mix that with his talent, and you may have one of the best backs in his class. He has a combination of power where he can blow through you with his legs and his big, torso. And then when you see him in the open field, he's got the speed to run away from you. I can't wait to see him. He's one of the first kids I want to scout this year in 2019.
Wednesday nights, get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview. Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle along with Nate Cline and Dan Labbe from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon, and guys, our time in week 1 is kind of getting shorter. So before we go, we're going to take a look at some of the best from the week, our top 15 plays. And we're going to begin with the defensive side of the ball as North Royalton. We saw this one earlier. Number 15, it's a second in the end zone, a safety. And a nice job as North Royalton gets the safety, the tackle by Jake Franzak.
Thought that would be a pretty big play for the Bears.
Here we go. Play 14, Mooney. Antonio Page, the quarterback. Oh, look at him stepping through tackles.
Oh,
Little stiff arm. Oh, that's a big-time stiff arm by the quarterback. He's the quarterback.
Wow. Duke Johnson does that stiff arm Saturday of the Browns. He could use that.
All right, play 13. All right, we saw Antonio Page run the ball. Little play action, and he throws it to Brendan Olish. Tipped, and he grabs it. Good catch by Olish.
It's kind of a trick play for Mooney. The passing game is sort of their trick play.
All right, number 12. And this one is from Massillon. Martellius Blake through the hole and into the end zone for the touchdown for the Tigers.
Well, he just showed off his tiger claws there, didn't he?
Here is play number 11. Norton's TJ Moss on the hop, then on the fly. Nice cutback. TJ Moss. Ah, Mr. Thompson, Key Thompson tackles.
Yeah, that ended up
nice.
keeping him off the scoreboard.
Nice return, though. Play number 10 from the Dayton area. Little pitch out, and this helps Fairmont defeat Kettering Alter last night by a single point.
All right, that'll do.
Number 9, back to North Royalton, and this is Zach Antonio. Oh, look at him carrying tacklers. That nice touchdown run. Zach Antonio with the touchdown run. Moving on, and from Cleveland Heights, Zaire Webb with the touchdown run claims play number 8. Play number 7, the Menor Cardinals. Oh, and through the hole and into the end zone. It's Chris and Edmond. Nice touchdown run by Edmond.
They run the ball like this all year. That's going to be a problem.
Play 7. Here's play number 6. The Solon Comets. I'm feeling we're going to see this guy quite a bit. Thomas Wilkes. Look at that through the hole. Speed, power, he gets it done. Play number 5. Barberton, the quarterback, Zane Reese. We saw this one too. Take a look at this. Little wheel route.
The back knew it too. You saw him put his hand up as he was coming around the top of that route.
Parker for the touchdown. He saw that all the way as Jeff Parker grabs it. That was play number 5. Play number 4. The Rangers from North Royalton. And oh, nice grab over the middle. Touchdown pass for the Rangers of North Ridgeville.
3 broken tackles?
Yeah, down the far sideline. That claims play number 4. Play number 3. We're going to go with the Lake Catholic Cougars.
Did he run that in?
Nice
broken
run. Look at that.
Broken
Stripped away, though. Oh, hold on. You got the wrong guy. Stripped away and headed in for the touchdown.
So he almost fumbled, got it back, almost made a play out of it, and then had the ball stripped.
That was Robert Morgan with that play. Play number 2, Michael Lowry. Little spin move, throws it up. Otis Buckner shields the defender, grabs it. Great play.
I literally fell for that move he just did.
Lowry to Buckner. Otis
Timing
Buckner.
on that jump, too.
A good move on both ends. Our
That was
top
number 1.
play. Oh, it's Michael Lowry again. Dotting our top plays with 2 and 1. Scrambles out of the picture. Still scrambles and throws into the end zone. Deflected. And finally caught.
No.
And that is our top
Edelman-esque
play.
Wow.
Michael Lowry getting it done.
Wow.
You see why he was one of our 101 top players. Scrambles, throws. How about the arm strength on that young man
And the
there?
ball bouncing all over the place,
And the
somebody
footwork.
comes up with it.
I fell for it. I fell for it on number 2. I didn't even need to see 1.
Yeah, without question. Now, we're going to do those every week as we wrap up the show.
pretty good.
Here's the thing. You guys, if you're watching, send us your top plays. FNH top plays. Hashtag FNH, Friday Night Huddle, top plays. Send us your plays every Friday night. Last 10, 15 minutes of the show, we'll roll them up, have a good old time, and go crazy with them. What a job by Michael Lowry, the quarterback, the junior quarterback from Lincoln, down in the central part of the state, Gahanna, gets play number 2 and play number 1.
Yeah, and what's great about it is they were both sort of him making something happen on his own. Under pressure, gets out of it. Little backyard football, trusts his receivers, throws the ball up, and that last one, again, you just saw the ball get deflected all over the place. Receiver comes up with it. When you have a quarterback that can be creative like that and isn't afraid to take chances, you can do some big things. You're going to show up on that list a lot.
You saw everything that people like about him. He's athletic enough to get out of he has vision downfield. He knows where his guys are going to be. And then he's got the arm strength to get it there when a lot of guys don't.
He's big, too.
And it's only week 1. It's only week 1. And he's doing like that. He's making top plays, the number 1 and 2. So, it's only week 1. We'll see.
And he's an underclassman, just a junior. So we'll see a lot of Michael Lowry. And I think we'll probably see a lot of, the St. Ignatius Wildcats, the St. Edward Eagles. There's a lot of the same programs that we expect to be good taking that step.
Yeah, I think Division I, Region I is going to be.
It's going to be all
maybe
over
predictable's not the word,
no.
But I think you're going to have a lot of the powerhouses have really good seasons, and that's going to make for a really good bracket when playoff time rolls around. And then there'll be some upstarts in there too. Somebody's going to sneak up in there, or maybe a team like Stowe's going to get in there again and maybe make some noise. So there's a lot of intrigue in a region like that where you've got the powerhouses playing well, and then you've got some teams that kind of come in and are eyeing those guys.
Well, the other thing is think about Division III. Now you've got Aurora who went down to Division III. You've got Glenville who went down to Division III. Glenville opens with Euclid, Division I, Region I. St. Ed's, Division I, Region I. And then Menor, Division I, Region I. Oh, and then, you play the Senate where you haven't lost since '97. And then if they win those 7 games, there's a pretty good chance they're going to be a 7-8 seed. And nobody's going to want to see them in Division III. Nobody.
And you figure the teams that came out of that were Toledo Central Catholic, University School, Bay, some of those area teams. I'm just kind of curious how that's going to kind of shape out. But first, they've got to get through these first set of games first so we can see what's going to happen.
It's going to be interesting. Obviously, not the start to the season that Glenville wanted. And Aurora's another team. That's a tough loss. You had the lead. You lose by a point on a field goal with 5 minutes left. They had some chances to come back, but that's a tough loss, without question. But great win for Solon.
But the good thing about, for a team like Glenville and for a team like Aurora, even though Region 5, Aurora's in Division III now, but it gives them room to lose a game. In Division I, Region I, if you lose 1-2 games, you're fighting. For every single week, you're fighting to get into the playoffs. If you're in Division III, you've got a little wiggle room. You can lose to a team that's up a couple divisions and still get into the playoffs and maybe not have to fight quite as hard.
We're going to take one more time out, and when we come back, we will wrap up Week 1. Friday Night Huddle here on cleveland.com and Spectrum Sports.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
Home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to auth-ctoke-auth and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This city, this club, stands with you.
Danger from Mira!
What live for lives here.
The volley, Kamara, yes!
Ohio's television home of Columbus Crew SC. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum. Wednesday nights. Get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview. Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle, along with Dan Labbe and Nate Cline. I'm Dave Bacon. A couple other finals that have come in. Hudson 20-7 over Austintown Fitch, and Chardon 42-14. They start the season off with a win over West Geauga. So impressive start for Chardon. Just keep rolling on.
Yeah, and that offense so difficult to defend when it gets going. Not a real traditional offense, but they are tough to defend.
Yep, you better be disciplined and gap sound because they're going to run that wing tee all over the place. Week 2, let's take a look at some of the games, and there's actually some pretty good games that dot the lineup now. Lincoln West and Normandy, so they will play on Thursday.
Oh boy!
Trying to start a winning streak as Normandy defeated Wellington tonight. There's the one that we've talked about a couple of times. St. Ignatius and Menor. That's going to be an interesting matchup. The thing that's really intriguing, and you can see that game tape delay on Spectrum Sports. That's a game that you can see following our show at 11 o'clock. The Ignatius Menor game will be on there. But Ignatius, and Nate, you mentioned that front seven. Menor ran the football really well. So that front seven will get a test against Menor Cardinals.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw some surprises on the defensive line. Some of the guys that were playing on offense switched on over there, and there were some big guys blocking up against Hoban on Thursday night in the home opener for the Knights. But I don't know. I actually looked at that list and I was like, man, which is not a good game to go see, actually. But yeah, thank you. But Euclid and Aurora, I'm really excited about that one. They're going to be heading down to the Greenman field right there.
Mooney and Hoban, that's another one that looks really interesting. And Glenville and St. Ed's, Ryan Kavanaugh, and I will have that live on Spectrum Sports on Saturday. So that's going to be. Glenville's going to get a little bit of a sense of urgency, and you can be sure that start that they had against Euclid, Coach Ginn's going to have a talking to, and got to get that corrected. Especially those first 3 games, you've got, if you're Glenville, you've got Eds, and then you got Menor behind that. So.
You fall behind 32-6 to St. Edward. You're not getting back in that game.
No.
You're done. And so we're going to kind of see what Glenville is made of. We're going to get a chance to see what kind of team they are, how they bounce back, and if they get off to a good start in that game, what they can do against a team as talented as St. Ed's.
And the Hoban-Mooney game, if you're in the stands, you might want to buckle up the chin strap because those two are going to be knocking each other all over the field there.
You might not be there real long. That game might only be like an hour and a half long. A lot of running.
And that's a defense that likes to hit on both sides, and we saw what the Mooney Cardinals can do.
Yeah, I mean that should be a fun game. Those are some fun games. You love that.
Yeah.
Week 1 you kind of get to know everybody.
Absolutely.
And now week 2 you get to see some powerhouses just butt heads.
And that's the fun of the first 3 weeks because the really good teams, they want to schedule your scheduling because week 4 you usually get into conference play. So the first 3 weeks are always interesting, always exciting. As you look at this, again, the moment for me that stands out as we wrap it up has to be Normandy ends that 41-game winning streak. I'm so happy for Brian Darden, and I love the fact he was absolutely confident we are going to win. You will talk to me tonight, and we did. I just wish he wasn't driving back from Wellington.
I know,
so
I
we
wish
could
we
have
could
talked
have
to him a little longer.
half an hour with the guy. But how can that not be the moment of the night?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Oh,
from the actually, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm actually looking forward to week 2 because I'm looking at that Lincoln West game, and it's a new coach as well for them as well. And I'm just wondering, is Normandy going to try to sneak in there and try to get a win as well?
Absolutely.
So,
you heard
so,
the man.
So what? Money get it?
No. He believes.
I can't wait to see his tweet next week. I'm turning on alerts on my phone.
Well, you guys, that'll do it. We will we'll wrap things up. We will be here each and every Friday Night Huddle. If you want to tweet to us, we will take your tweets. We prefer video tweets. Hashtag Friday Huddle or hashtag FNH for Friday Night Huddle. You can see us starting at 7 o'clock on Spectrum Sports and cleveland.com. We'll go all the way through to 11. For Nate Cline and Dan Labbe, I'm Dave Bacon. We'll see you again next Friday night, right here in the Huddle, Friday Night Huddle on Spectrum Sports and cleveland.com. Have a great week, everyone. Friday Night Huddle along with Nate Cline. Friday Night Huddle along with Nate Cline and Dan Labbe from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon, and guys, our time in week 1 is kind of getting shorter. So before we go, we're going to take a look at some of the best from the week, our top 15 plays. And we're going to begin with the defensive side of the ball as North Royalton. Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle along with Nate Cline and Dan Labbe from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon, and guys, our time and we begin 50 Mooney farm bus. All right. Back. Nice. A little touchdown. By a bit. Number. We saw that all. 4 to go with Crypto. Mike and 1. Edelman rambles.
I fell for
it. Bounce off.
Done. Into the end zone, deflected, and finally caught.
No.
And that is our top
Edelman-esque
play.
Wow.
Michael Lowry getting it done.
Wow.
You see why he was one of our 101 top players. Scrambles, throws. How about the arm strength on that young man?
And the ball bouncing all over the place,
and the
somebody
footwork
comes up with it.
I fell for it. I fell for it on number 2. I didn't even need to see 1.
Yeah, without question. Now, we're going to do those every week as we wrap up the show.
Pretty good.
Here's the thing. You guys, if you're watching, send us your top plays. FNH top plays. Hashtag FNH, Friday Night Huddle, top plays. Send us your plays every Friday night. Last 10, 15 minutes of the show, we'll roll them up, have a good old time, and go crazy with them. What a job by Michael Lowry, the quarterback, the junior quarterback from Lincoln, down in the central part of the state, Gahanna. Get show. 15 minutes of the show, we'll roll them up, have a good old time, and go crazy with them. What a top. Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle along with Nate Cline and Dan Labbe from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon, and guys, our time in week 1 is kind of getting shorter. So before we go, we're going to take a look at some of the best from the week, our top 15 plays. And we're going to begin with the defensive side of the ball as North Royalton. We saw this one earlier. Number 15, it's a second in the end zone, a safety. And a nice job as North Royalton gets the safety, the tackle by Jake Franzak.
I thought that would be a pretty big play for the Bears.
Here we go. Play 14, Mooney. Antonio Page, the quarterback. Oh, look at him stepping through tackles. Little stiff arm. Oh, that's a big-time stiff arm by the quarterback. He's the quarterback.
Wow. Duke Johnson does that stiff arm Saturday of the Browns. He could use that.
All right, play 13. All right, we saw Antonio Page run the ball. Little play action, and he throws it to Brendan Olish. Tipped, and he grabs it. Good catch by Olish.
It's kind of a trick play for Mooney. The passing game is sort of their trick play.
All right, number 12. And this one is from Massillon. Martellius Blake through the hole and into the end zone for the touchdown for the Tigers.
Well, he just showed off his tiger claws there, didn't he?
Here is play number 11. Norton's T.J. Moss on the hop, then on the fly. Nice cutback. T.J. Moss. Wow. Mr. Thompson, Key Thompson tackled.
Yeah, that ended up
nice.
keeping him off the scoreboard.
Nice return, though. Play number 10. From the Dayton area, a little pitch out, and this helps Fairmont defeat Kettering Alter last night by a single point.
All right, that'll do.
Number 9, back to North Royalton, and this is Zach Antonio. Oh, look at him carrying tacklers. That nice touchdown run. Zach Antonio with the touchdown run. Moving on, and from Cleveland Heights, Zaire Webb with the touchdown run claims play number 8. Play number 7, the Menor Cardinals. Oh, and through the hole and into the end zone. It's Chris Edmond. Nice touchdown run by Edmond.
If they run the ball like this all year, that's going to be a problem.
Play 7. Here's play number 6, the Solon Comets. I feel like we're going to see this guy quite a bit. Thomas Wilkes.
Brum, brum.
Look at that through the hole. Speed, power, he gets it done. Play number 5. Barberton, the quarterback, Zane Reese. We saw this one too. Take a look at this. Little wheel route.
The back knew it too. You saw him put his hand up as he was coming around the top of that route.
Parker for the touchdown. He saw that all the way as Jeff Parker grabs it. That was play number 5. Play number 4. The Rangers from North Royalton. And nice grab over the middle. Touchdown pass for the Rangers of North Ridgeville.
3 broken tackles?
Yeah, down the far sideline. That claims play number 4. Play number 3. We're going to go with the Lake Catholic Cougars.
Did he run that in?
Nice run. Look at that.
Broken
Stripped away, though. Hold on. You got the wrong guy. Stripped away and headed in for the touchdown.
So he almost fumbled, got it back, almost made a play out of it, and then had the ball stripped.
That was Robert Morgan with that play. Play number 2, Michael Lowry. Little spin move. Throws it up. Otis Buckner shields the defender, grabs it. Great play.
I literally fell for that move he just did.
Lowry to Buckner. Otis
Buckner.
Buckner.
On that jump, too.
A good move on both ends. Our top play. It's Michael Lowry again. Dotting our top plays with 2 and 1. Scrambles out of the picture. Still scrambles and throws into the end zone. Deflected. And finally caught.
No.
And that is our top
Edelman-esque
play.
Wow.
Michael Lowry getting it done.
Wow.
You see why he was one of our 101 top players. Scrambles, throws. How about the arm strength on that young man?
And the ball bouncing all over the place,
And the
somebody
footwork.
comes up with it.
I fell for it. I fell for it on number 2. I didn't even need to see one.
Yeah, without question. Now, we're going to do those every week as we wrap up the show.
Pretty good.
Here's the thing. You guys, if you're watching, send us your top plays. FNH top plays. Hashtag FNH, Friday Night Huddle, top plays. Send us your plays every Friday night. Last 10, 15 minutes of the show, we'll roll them up, have a good old time, and go crazy with them. What a job by Michael Lowry. The